Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Holy Humanist. We are here for part 5 of the series with the wonderful Lloyd, looking into South Arabia, Yemen, Ethiopia, things like that, and really kind of trying to dissect what historically could have had an impact on how Islam came into fruition. So yeah, sorry, by the way, if there's a little bit of a delay, people, between these parts. I think between us, Lloyd and I have quite hectic schedules, mine a bit more so recently. So I do apologize. And just before we get started, as usual, Lloyd's channel is in the description, as are all the ways that you can go and support him. So please do, please go like his channel, subscribe to it, and share it as much as you can. And similarly, please like and share this stream as much as possible. But yeah, also, I hate to say this because we are on part 5 now, but just for the record, again, if you guys, whoever's watching, this is a very, very insanely technical historical topic that we're kind of unpacking. So there are a lot of questions surrounding it. There are a lot of offshoots. We could go on a lot of tangents, but as far and as much as possible, if we can keep the chat relevant to what's being discussed in the presentation. And as always, feel free to send any questions via super chat, especially if it's in that moment that you want something clarified or expanded on, and we will do our best to help you with that. So yeah, without further ado, Lloyd, welcome once again. Thank you so much for being here.
Again, thank you, Nuria, for having me on the channel. Thank you for being interested in what I'm doing, and also for hosting and asking such great questions. And to your audience for being so engaged and asking some really great questions too.
My pleasure. And thank you. Yeah, my audience is fab. I'm actually very impressed. Hi, Zagros. Welcome, John Stopman. We've got a couple of the regulars here. Welcome, Foji Serial. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, so then let's get cracking on part 5.
Okay, so let me go. I'll share my screen.
Sure.
So screen 2. Right. So I will briefly just address a couple of issues from last week. So I'll go through a handful of things from last week, and then we'll pick up where we left off. Just a sort of brief overview and a refresher, and then move on to the latest slides. So last week, someone asked me about Rahman, and then I was looking for something in the Encyclopedia of Islam, which I actually did find, but I didn't realize that I'd found the page. When you're in a rush, you don't always, read see what's in front of you. But
yeah, it happens.
So the question related to the Basmalah at the end of the day, right? And I wanted to mention this. The Basmalah, the Islamic Bismillah, is put to work in the composition of the talismans admitted by the Siqh. So talismans, this has to do with magic, and they call it apparently lawful magic. It is said that the formula of the Bismillah was inscribed upon Adam's thigh, and upon the wing of the angel Gabriel, and on the seal of Solomon, and it was inscribed like a tattoo, I guess, on the tongue of Jesus.
Wow. Okay. No, I really thank you so much for bringing up this basmalah, because obviously, I mean, like you and I would know that it forms such an integral part of Islam today. Just the varied Bismillah Rahman Rahim, which, especially when you look at it in the context of the sihr or lawful magic, it almost seems like a bit of an incantation,
Well, you know what? If we ever do a stream on the occult aspects of Islam, just the initial introduction to you're going to discover that the Quran is written as a method of creating incantations. But that is, but notice here, it says lawful white magic, also called blah blah, charm, or incantation.
Oh, yes.
And it's also known as sorcery. So the Bismillah could potentially be used as part of sorcery. But notice, sihr is also black magic.
Okay, yeah. So it's lawful white magic and black magic at the same time.
Islam makes perfect sense.
Indeed. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the fact that it's actually mentioned there as black magic, whereas that's considered like one of the, really deadly sins. And I mean, even in the Quran, there's a reference to like God teaching or sending down the angels to teach humans magic.
Well, when you start, if you read the Encyclopedia of Islam, links in the description, guys, the Google Drive link to all of my archive is now up to nearly 1,400 references. Uh,
Wow.
I I regularly add material as I
Mhm.
find things, but you'll find that for roughly half of whatever you find within the encyclopedia, they'll speak of like standard Islam, and then they'll speak of its application to the occult.
Okay, wow.
So there's
Yeah.
constantly references to incantations, magic, occultism, things of that nature.
And this makes a lot of sense, Lloyd, even if you just go like to the very like, the people at the very beginnings when we talk about Khadija and Muhammad and how kind of like what he was exposed to living with her and everything she knew with her like priestess position almost, and the fact that they relied so heavily on things like these summonings and incantations and at the time. So you can see where there's such an, I mean, even not going that far back historic, but you can see that would have such a spillover effect. But the fact that you're saying the entire Quran could be read as a series of incantations as well, that doesn't surprise me.
You just reminded me. There's a reference. I don't have it right now. I can look it up for next time, or if it occurs to me, I'll try and find it.
Sure.
There's and I the problem is that I don't have the sources right now. The sources may exist, but they'll be in Arabic, and the guy that translated it didn't provide the reference sources. But the story is that Khadija, as I mentioned, I believe before, so Khadija was married to someone before Muhammad.
Mhm.
And the reason that she was wealthy, the reason that family became wealthy, she and her husband, was that her husband was an oracle for the jinn, for the demons. The demons would speak through him, and they would
Yeah.
tell the future. So people would pay them money, and then he would tell the future. The jinn would speak through him. He died, and the money supply stopped, of course. But she was able to then start this trading business. And when Muhammad came along and said he was hearing the voices of the demons or the jinn speaking to him, she said, "Cha-ching," because
Dollar
she'd seen
dollar
that
bill,
movie before.
y'all. Yeah.
Exactly. She'd seen that movie before.
Right, exactly. And she had spent all of that time with the previous husband, obviously knowing like the ins and outs of how to do this and how to kind of,
Yeah.
show that this is the person who has received, who can is capable of, like talking to beyond and summoning from that realm and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's placed perfectly to do that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention this. So let me minimize this. And then I want to go back to this slide. We covered this and I'll do it. So remember, I mentioned this last week. There are a couple of these plaques, I believe. And this one is dedicated to Al Makkah of Hiran. Okay. Hiran
Hmm.
is a town in Yemen, right? And I remember
City
I
of the
mentioned,
Moon, right?
no, that's
Oh, that's
Haran
Haran. Oh,
in
yes,
Turkey.
right.
This is
Okay,
Hiran in Yemen.
okay.
Haran is in Turkey. However, I want to mention that they mention here Al-Makkah of Hiran. There's a handful of these references in inscriptions. There's like a few of these tablets apparently, and Al-Makkah has something like nearly 2,000 or 1,800 references in inscriptions in that part of the world. Right, it's
Wow.
recorded in a database by an Italian university. Recorded all of the, and it's an international database by now. However, remember we mentioned Makoraba. Now, this is the earliest reference to Mecca, or at least Muslims like to claim. And we showed that Makoraba is Al Mahabisha in Yemen.
Hmm.
It's not in Mecca, right?
Yeah.
When you properly add all the coordinates, it's in Yemen in a place called Al Mahabisha, right? And now Al Makkah is in Hiran, right? So now let's go here. Let's have a quick look at where Hiran is. Okay, so Hiran is within walking distance of a place called Al Mahabisha.
Okay.
I'll
Wow.
zoom in
Yeah.
here. This is Al Mahabisha,
Mm.
okay? And as you saw, we just had Hiran. So this is the same. Let me just, yeah, see, Hiran is less than, it's like 2 kilometers apart.
Right.
So
Okay.
Makuraba, right, is traced to Al Mahabisha and Al Makkah of Hiran. So when they say that Makuraba is Mecca, and Al Makkah, the god, remember, is in Hiran. These two are walking distance apart.
Wow. Okay.
So understand the strange, and this is also Al Mahabisha. This is what Al Mahabisha looks like. It's green. It is
Yeah.
fertile. It has valleys. It has mountains.
That makes so much more sense already. Look at the geography of that place.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
agriculture here.
Yeah.
This would make sense of the Mecca of the Quran.
Yeah. And are there mountainous regions? Obviously, are there caves in the way that we've seen
I
caves in
had a
Petra?
chance. I did briefly look, but I mean, I can assume there's one or two caves at least.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
probably wouldn't be
definitely seems
unreasonable
plausible.
to imagine that there may be one or two caves here. But this
Exactly.
area is green. It has agriculture, and then
Yeah.
also, by the way, and just south of that area, was a world famous museum that had collected all of the archaeological artifacts, from that region, of the
Mhm.
pre-Islamic days. And then, sheer coincidence, in 2015, the Saudi Air Force targeted this museum for an airstrike.
What?
Yeah, they
Wow,
specifically targeted
okay.
this
If
museum
that's
for an
not
airstrike.
sus, I don't know what is.
So why would they bomb a museum? Well, the Saudis offended by vases, so they destroyed everything in the museum. They flattened it. They completely destroyed every artifact in that museum.
Shoot. Oh my gosh. So they must be very much aware of this and they know that the
Uh,
threat it poses to Islam.
this information, if people start to figure out 12,500 artifacts, thousands of year old,
Yeah.
and 150 ancient Arabian inscriptions made 2015, destroyed after a Saudi airstrike. I've said that I think they're aware of it, and they
Hmm.
then understand and that's why they've destroyed it.
Yeah, that could very well be the case. And similarly, exactly what they're doing in actual Mecca now in Saudi, just kind of like bulldozing over everything that was even supposedly the historical sites of Islam. They're all going, and all these hotels and Rolex towers and stuff are propping up. So they definitely know that there's a problem at hand.
Yeah, that's what I think they're covering up. Also, by the way, I want to show you something. The sun is to align directly over the Kaaba today. Awesome.
Yeah,
Uh, the sun to align directly over the holy Kaaba today. They're very excited about that. Let me
yeah,
see the moon. Oh my gosh, the full moon to align directly above the Kaaba in Mecca. Very excited. The
yeah.
moon aligns directly above the Kaaba in Makkah's Grand Mosque. We'll get into why I'm showing this.
Hmm.
So you can see report full moon to align directly. They get very excited whenever this happens.
Yeah,
When
I
the
got a
sun or the
hunch
moon
what you're
align,
going.
you know, when the sun or
Yeah.
the moon aligns directly above the Kaaba. So I'll get into that. So let me continue here. So I'll jump forward again. So I've mentioned here again, we have the Temple of Hiran, okay, the name of the Sabaean moon god, right? So
Mhm.
Hiran was again the Temple of Hiran, right? And there are hadith of the Kaaba of Yemen that they had to go and destroy, right? There are
Yeah,
hadith of the Kaaba of Yemen, and let's continue. So now we ended up with Hatra, okay, a
yeah,
week ago, and this was called Beit Allah, the house of Allah, and of course, any Kaaba was also called, the Beit Allah, the house of Allah, right?
yeah.
Right. So, so that was common. So let me see. We covered this, and then we ended, I believe, here with we were covering.
Lloyd,
So
isn't it
okay,
just so funny and sad at the same time though that like modern quote unquote monotheistic Muslims would just be like, we're Ahlul Bayt, like that's like we're the final most monotheistic religion, and you just show us where it comes from and how they were all called that.
yeah, and yeah, they were polytheistic. Yeah. So of
Yeah,
course we've mentioned Yasin again. I still forgot to go and fix all the. So I may have the surah numbers wrong. Okay, so just deal with
sure.
that. So the heart of the unholy Quran, Yasin. Okay, Ya is also, you can see that as part of the root of one of the moon gods, and then Sin, of course, from Babylon. So the moon god of Babylon, and this is the heart of the Quran, right? Al Qamar, Rahman, we've mentioned that. I just showed you that a little bit, and then of course you have this guy, Molech, right, which
Yeah.
we discussed previously. Molech, Baal, Allah,
Hmm.
Al Makkah,
Yeah.
right? Uh, so at least in some contexts, in some instances, they are the same deity. It would strongly seem. And then, of course, we mentioned Sirius. That, of course, in the Quran, Allah is the Lord of Sirius. Sirius is the offspring, the child of the sun and the moon god. And Allah is the Lord of Sirius, which I think is a pagan reference, which they forgot to properly edit in the Quran.
Hmm.
It's an admission to me, at least,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, you have these things. And okay, I'll skip that. This is not that critical. And of course, they do mention that a star worship by some ancient pagans. Allah alone is the Lord of Sirius,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
right? Quran 53:49. And he alone is the Lord of Sirius. Now, Sirius is a pagan god,
Yeah.
right? And Allah is his Lord. Now, Sin was the Lord of Sirius.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This is madness, because this is now directly, like, we're not even talking hadith here, Lloyd, we're talking the actual Quran.
yeah,
That is verbatim what it says in
yeah.
the Quran.
And this term here, Shinain Ra, Shin, the moon god
Mhm.
Shin,
Yeah.
you know, I just find, and Ra is also the Egyptian moon god, or at least an Egyptian god. So
Yeah.
I know, I mean, let someone else look at that, but Shira, right? And then of course they do mention within Al Jalalain, Tafsir Al
Mhm.
Jalalain, the star lying beyond the constellation of Gemini, worshipped in the time of Pagandom, the Jahiliyyah, and Ibn Abbas, who is the Lord of Sirius. Okay, and he says that which was worshipped. So they admit that. So I just
Wow, because
find
I
that,
was just going to ask you what the tafsir on this says and if they try and twist and turn it, but no, they fully do accept it was worshipped in the time of pagandom.
yep. And so
I just need to go back and read the I'm gonna do the typical Muslim thing and read the line above and below this again just to put it into context, but that is very damaging.
yeah. So, and I mean, even in Quran.com, you've got a star worshipped by some ancient pagans.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So they've got this reference here. So now let's continue. So this is where we ended last time. Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest series of temples, right? The oldest complex of temples. In fact, there's one now discovered, as I said, that's about 2,000 years older than Göbekli Tepe. And
Yeah.
there's multiple of these all over that geographic region. There's like 19 of these at least. The one article I read said there were dozens, but the
Mm.
map showed 19 of these temple installations. Right.
Okay,
So
wow.
probably they have more they haven't revealed the locations of yet.
Yeah.
And the world's oldest temple is built to worship the dog star, Sirius. New research, this is in New Scientist, not Wikipedia. New research has revealed that the world's oldest known temple, Göbekli Tepe, was built to worship the star Sirius. It's at least 12,000 years old. Right. So
Okay,
isn't
so
that
this is
fascinating? Yeah.
yeah, no, go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
no, please go on.
No, I'm just exactly what I think you were going to point out as well. Isn't that fascinating that the world's oldest known temple, which was dedicated to the worship of the star Sirius, is literally the exact same reference we find codified in the Quran?
Yeah.
That is a direct link.
And this is within technically walking distance of Haran, where Abraham was, who had the religion of Abraham,
Wow, there we go. Okay.
because they were looking for the first religion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And this is near,
And they would
right?
be right, technically, if they were looking for the first religion, right? I mean, so far as how much we know thus far, if this is the world's oldest known temple, this essentially was the oldest, well, at least the oldest religion that was a temple built to carry out those practices. So, according to that, what you were telling us last week about them actually going out to find the religion of Abraham or the world's oldest religion, they have stumbled on, and as you said, very plausible because of the walking distance as well, the geography that describes it that also makes its way into the Quran. It all comes together nicely, Lloyd. I see
Yeah,
this.
it's just a little strange, a little weird,
Yeah.
right? Now, let's have a look at this Sirius worship. You have two pillars and the star lines in the middle. Did we see pictures like that just a few moments ago?
We did. If you just accentuate those pillars, put the Kaaba there with the black draped cloth, the moon was right on top.
Yeah, you see the similarity, the parallel here. This,
Yeah. A- and how they are getting actually I never come across that even as a Muslim, like, we're getting excited about the moon or the sun lining up, but they are genuinely excited about that, and that's so similar.
yeah. And the Kaaba is technically aligned on Sirius. And then remember, the Kaaba represents Allah's house on earth.
Yeah,
Sirius is like the house of Allah in the sky, and everything circles around Sirius, right? And then, of course, the Kaaba is pointed at Canopus, the second brightest star in the sky. So it's
right.
aligned on Sirius and Canopus.
Wow, okay. And
Yeah,
that's
we've
very
mentioned that. I will get
intentional.
back to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's definitely. So let's continue. So now let's go to Molech. Okay, so that wraps up most of the introduction there, just to the housekeeping from last week. So Molech, Canaanite deity associated in biblical sources with child sacrifice. So the name derives from combining the consonants of the Hebrew Melech, king, with the vowels of Boshet, meaning abhorrence or shame. Right, the latter often being used in the Old Testament as a variant name for the popular god Baal. So now
Okay.
you have Baal, Molech, and last week we discussed Baal, Molech, Al-Makkah, Allah,
Yeah.
right? So There are monoliths in North Africa that bear the engraving MLK, Molech, okay, often written as Malek Immer or Malek Dim, which may mean sacrifice of lamb and sacrifice of man.
Okay.
This practice continued in Africa.
Yeah.
So in North Africa, Moloch was renamed Kronos, right? Saturn. Kronos migrated to Carthage in Greece and in mythology became a titan and the father of Zeus. Moloch is affiliated with and equated to Baal. Okay, so Baal can be a general term or a specific name, right?
Yeah.
So examples of words with the root Malik: Mamaluk, Melchizedek, Melkite, Moloch. It's West Semitic and means to rule, to dominate, to possess. But notice, again, when we looked at the definition of deen in Islam, to rule, to dominate, to possess, to own, right? And so yeah, so you've got this, so you've got these two contexts, but within the Jewish context, within the Hebrew context, it's king, but a king of shame or an abhorrent king, an evil king, right? So they've added, so to the Jews, this was a king who was evil, who was abhorrent, right?
Yeah.
So, but of course, in Islam, it's not used in that context. To them, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Because God is like in one of the surahs of the Quran, it says Malik al Yawmiddin. So the word does appear as in like God is the king of the kings in that sense.
Yeah,
in
it's one
a
of the names of
positive.
Allah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there you go. So now let's have a look. Silm. So okay, we've discussed this a few times, but I've discovered repetition doesn't hurt. Silm, root of Islam, means graven idol. So in Strong's dictionary, if you look at the Hebrew H423, Allah, okay, it's an imprecation, it's a curse. Allah in the Hebrew is a curse.
Wow. Okay.
So Molech is an abomination, and Allah is a curse in the Hebrew. In Islam, Malik is a good king, and Allah is a good deity.
Yeah.
Exactly the opposite.
Great, the greatest, exactly. The complete opposite. So
It's an inversion.
how have we got this inversion, Lloyd? What's happened here?
I don't know. I mean, just but there's room for some additional exploration into. I mean, any one of these things can be taken and expanded upon, explored further.
Yeah.
But basically, I mean, obviously, this stands in opposition to the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
Right. So they stand in direct opposition. Right. So this is an anti-religion in that sense.
Yes. It's also interesting because when we see in the Hadith and things like that, the position that Muhammad takes a lot of the times is to always just emulate the opposite or do the exact opposite of what the Jews were doing. So if they would like sit down at a funeral, he'd stand up. If they didn't grow beards, he'd say grow beards. He's always like do the opposite. So this inversion pattern is kind of like manifest even in the Hadith, where he's like, whatever they're doing, we're going to do the opposite.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. So you've got this literal inversion, this literal opposite. All right. So I will note that a handful of times I keep getting people saying Lloyd makes weird claims. No, Lloyd reads out of academic manuals. I don't make a claim. I'm reading. So Jojo Freelancer KUP, who, as we discussed before, Jojo, are we doing this again? Right.
Jojo's
so yeah. So yeah. Anywho, so Jojo's back and now he's being here in troll mode. He was so nice the last few weeks. Okay,
yeah.
so now
Jojo, you were like doing really well. I thought we were engaging really wholesomely, but I guess not. Anyway, my mods are amazing. So if it does get out of hand, I'm sure they'll.
Now notice Silm, Muslims are always keen to tell us, man, Silm Islam, means peace, right? So thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. We're often told that the Arabic root, the triliteral root, es-salam means salam, right? Islam, right?
Yeah.
They're always happy to tell us peace and submission. It's a common Semitic word in Strong's H6754 and 6755. It means image. It means heathen gods. It's really the Bible speaks very strongly against it in 2 Kings 11:18, Amos 5:26, and Daniel 2:31, right? And then Essalem, the earliest known form, is in the name Shalem, the ancient god of dusk, the Ugarit Canaan Syrian star Venus, the evening star.
Wow. Okay.
Right, and it's the offspring of El with Aterat. Now remember, this is the sun goddess with the main god. El would be Baal. El would be Al-Makka. El would be the god Sin, the top deity, the top pagan deity. So the star god is the child. Remember, the Lord of Sirius. Allah is the
Yeah.
lord of Sirius. Now you've got another star, Venus, right? So I mean, we know that Venus is a planet, but it's just called the evening star. And then of course in the Akkadian you had Salamu, inscribed, graven image, statue. So the earliest uses of Salam was for graven images, for idols, for paganism, star
Wow.
gods. Why would Islam then choose this word? Why this?
And this makes up the very root of the entire religion. The word Muslim, the word Islam, everything comes out
Yes,
of this Salam root.
correct. And the oldest link is straight to paganism. So then Aramaic and Syriac, Salma means image or idol. So you're back to graven images, graven idols, right? It's found in the Nabatean, in the Palmyrene, and in Hatra. We discussed Hatra. That's that little. We discussed Hatra. Do you remember last week? We showed Hatra.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Hatra. I'll just bring it up briefly. This is Hatra. This was that 2nd century Arab kingdom right up here in Mesopotamia, right, in northern Iraq. And there were a number of these were Arab locations. They had all of the different gods were represented there, right? And they were trading stations. The Arabs controlled this area. They were the king of the Arabs, the Malka, right, the Molech. And of course this was also known as Beit Allah, the house of Allah.
Yeah. And that
right?
was,
And
like,
also
as you said, the melting point of where all the gods were kind of worshipped. Yeah.
just like the Kaaba in Mecca.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's that strong similarity. This one is not. Oh, okay. I haven't finished this one yet, but okay. So I've finished this one. Okay, no, almost finished this one. Let's go back here. Right. So you find this everywhere. This root Salam. So in all of the other religions, it's pagan, right?
Yeah.
And in pre-Islamic, okay, Salam is often an object dedicated to a deity, but this would be a graven idol, right?
Yeah.
It would be. So okay, you even have the feminine. There's a feminine version, Salamet. In Yemen, it's singular, dual, and plural. So it can mean one or more, right? Used of anything vain, an image, a likeness. It's in the Syrian, the Chaldean, it's an idol. In Arab, it's an image.
Right. Okay.
Same as the Hebrew, it's an image, it's an idol, a graven image.
Yeah. Oh my God, Lloyd, I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking about the implications of this because, like, to be a believer of and follower of Islam and to call yourself a Muslim, and now we're just unpacking the layers, and it's like from the very, very root of everything that religion means.
Yeah.
Is essentially an inversion of anything that was monotheistic at the time, but also actually means image or graven idol or as an offshoot of that. That's insane.
Yeah. So this is like really, really interesting, right? So now in Akkadian, Salmu means inscribed image, large or small statue. In Hebrew, the Selim means image or likeness. In the Syriac, Salma means image or idol. It's used in Old and Official Aramaic, Nabatean, Palmyrene, Hatran. That's Hatra again, that place. And the Old Syriac inscriptions, the image of a god, right? Statue, Selim, statue, image, Dimit. Dimit is actually a kingdom that was in northern Ethiopia at one time as well, the pagan kingdom. So that's back to Ethiopia, likeness. And in Nabatean inscriptions, the word for statue is Selim.
Wow, okay.
Now, isn't that interesting? From Nabatea, that's Petra.
Exactly. That is insanely interesting that there's so many dots here to potentially connect.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm going to open this up. Okay, I'm just going to bring this over quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Jewish and Christian religious influences on pre-Islamic Arabia on the example of the term Rahmanan, the merciful. So when someone asked me last week, so let me just see, there's a handful of, actually, you know what? I need to go back to, so this one is called,
I'll just take the super chat, Lloyd, while you're getting it up.
Sure, you do that, please. Yeah.
Myth Vision, Derek, thank you so much for stopping by. Honestly, I really, really appreciate you being here and all the love and support you always show. Derek is saying, I appreciate your content, Nuria. I just want to show a great content creator some support. Thank you. That means the absolute world. And while everybody is here and engaged, I just want to say, if you aren't already following Myth Vision podcast, I don't know, are you living under a rock? Because that is the place to be at the moment. That's exactly where the party is at on YouTube. I'll just share my screen. This is Derek's channel. Please go ahead and subscribe. I hope you guys can all see it. But you can see, like, he is literally going in every direction right now. It's kind of crazy, like not just the debunking religious myths, but looking at stuff from a scientific perspective, a philosophical perspective. He's going the full mile. So definitely go check out his channel if you haven't already, because you are severely missing out. But yeah, thank you so much, Derek. I really appreciate that, and I look forward to doing something soon with you, because we are going to get something penciled in. So yeah, excited.
All right. Yeah. So I'm
Lloyd,
not
let me
sharing
share your
right now.
screen again.
Yeah.
So here we
This is
go.
just briefly. This is one of those papers that I've got in my. I had highlighted everything, but for some reason I don't have the version that I'd highlighted. I must have. So I had the relevant sections highlighted, but I'll just briefly run through this. So
Sure.
someone asked about Rahmanan, the merciful, right? There's Rahmanan and there's Rahman, right? There's two N's and one N, right? So there are some differences here and so on. However, Rahmanan there was a big fight going on over Rahman. Okay.
Mhm.
Right? So the Christians and the Jews called Yahweh Rahman, but then there was also this Rahmanan, right? Ancient South Arabian moon god, right?
Yeah.
And so you also had different religions which were like quasi-biblical that were also using Rahman, and you had this competing prophet, Musaylama, that was competing with Muhammad, that also had a god called Rahmanan, who was a monotheistic god. Then you had pagans who had polytheistic gods called Rahmanan as well, a highly developed polytheistic religion.
Okay, so this word is being used kind of all over the shop.
Yeah, so it looks like the term would have derived. It looks like it was present even in Yemen way early
Uh-huh.
on. Okay, so then you had the monotheistic cult of the merciful Rahman, and then you look. It became an important aspect of the latest phase of pre-Islamic religion. Okay, and then Judaism and Christianity were that. So they were saying, "Hold on, our God is Rahman," and then of course you had the pagans fighting over it, and then you had Musaylama fighting over it, and then Muhammad comes along and he grabs it too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's in Jewish Old Arabic inscriptions. You see, so
Okay.
so the Jews were using it as well to describe God. So this is originally it was the Jewish God of the Bible. So there's a whole big fight that happened, and you can see huge numbers of inscriptions, original inscriptions that have it, right? And then at the very
Wow.
bottom, I'll just
It's
yeah,
literally
there's
written
loads of
there
them.
so similarly to the Quran. I just saw real quick the translation. It was very similar, the wording.
Yep, and then of course you've got Rahmanan, well known in South Arabia before the advent of Islam. So Muhammad borrowed this name from three sources. Okay, Ar-Rahman,
Mhm.
understood by Jews and Christians as Lord the Merciful, Master of Heaven.
Mhm.
Right, was useful for Islam, the new monotheist. Rahman in South Arabia signified a moon god, whom Muhammad even confused with or used as a substitute for Allah.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that either he's confused it or he's just like kind of just copy and paste superimposed it onto Allah.
Yeah, no, they
Wow.
did. And of course, there was a god called Mar Allah. Al Makkah was also called Allah. There were more than one god. Hubal was also Allah. And the Quran mentions Ar Rahman occasionally. In Surah 43:19, they mention, and it says here, which most translators have renamed as God or Allah, since they, as Muhammad, found no difference between these two South Arabian moon gods.
Wow, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Can we just focus on that for 1 second? So the Quran mentions Ar-Rahman occasionally, for example, in Surah 43:19, which most translators have renamed as God or Allah, renamed as well, since they, as Muhammad, found no difference between these two South Arabian moon gods. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you worked at you tell me what you think there, but yeah, understand there's a little bit of borrowing and other funny things going on here.
Yeah.
Right, so let's talk about some moon gods, Hilal and Qamar, right? The classical
Mhm.
Arabic name of the god in his form of the full moon is Al-Qamar. Arabian names for the moon god include An-Na'ir, the luminous one, Sa'in, cognate of the Babylonian Sin,
Mm.
okay, to the ancient Hadramites, that's the Yemenis, Qal, to the tribe of Kinda, Yemenis, Wad, love to the Manaeans, and Warak, wanderer, to the Himyarites and the Sabaeans. So the same god had multiple names. The
Yeah.
common act of moon worship among the Semites was to kiss the hand upon seeing the moon god.
Right. Okay.
Okay, upon seeing the moon god. Let's have a look. The Hilal, the crescent, Islam symbol. Notice you've got here all of these crescent and stars, crescent and star, crescent and star, star,
Yeah.
crescent and star, stars, and there's more of them. And of course, Morocco's star is a pentagram.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. We've mentioned that before. So now you've got the common act of moon worship among the Semites was to kiss the hand, crescent, Hilal, the moon, Hilal, Al-Qamar, planets, Al-Qamar, Ruhyat al-Hilal. In astronomy, the sighting of the lunar crescent. of particular importance for the fixing of the beginning and the end of Ramadan and the festivals in Islam. Okay, the lunar crescent, the moon god, Hilal, right? And then some divinities are not exclusively Yemeni. Okay, so there's Wad, and then there's the gods Sayin and Anbi have corresponding gods in Mesopotamia, Sin and Nabu. So Sayin, Sin. So now you see there's this corresponding Arab gods linking to Mesopotamian gods.
Yeah.
So this is a well-known thing. Okay, that's the Encyclopedia of Quran. Encyclopedia of the Quran, page 2584. Links in the description if anyone wants to look. Now let's have a look. Pagan hand kissing at the Kaaba. Job 31:26-27. If I regarded the sun in its radiance, or the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed, and my hand offered them a kiss of homage, that too would have been an iniquity calling for judgment, for I would have denied God, Yahweh, above.
Okay.
Kissing the hand is a sin.
Yeah,
biblically.
clear, but exactly. That's not on when it comes to monotheism for sure. That's what's being said here.
It's a pagan act. Okay, so now let's look at when you go to do Hajj and you walk around the Kaaba and you come around the Kaaba and you see the Hatam, the crescent moon. When one reaches the Yemeni corner, one does not kiss it, but you touch it and then you kiss your hand.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's also, I mean, some Muslims even do that right after they finish doing the like dua at the end of a prayer as well. The exact similar concept of kissing their hand after they prayed. So
it's a pagan act of worship to the moon god.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're literally like blowing my brains here, Lloyd, bit by bit. This part 5 is a lot more intense than I anticipated. It really makes you think about the actual very foundations of Islam, because like for the claims it makes for itself, they don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to like just the genuine link between even Ramadan, just there, that how important the moon was to signify the beginning and ending of Ramadan. Ramadan itself, we know, is a pre-Islamic pagan festival and ritual that they used to do. There's varying explanations of why they used to do it, but it's like fully agreed on that this is pre-Islamic. Yet no modern Muslim wants to like look and no, they just, you know, when it comes to things like Hajj, which we can again say purely pre-Islamic, that's actually in the scriptures, like the way they used to run between the mountains, Safa and Marwa, they used to do that in pagan times. All of these things, like throwing the rock at the pillar of Satan, all of these things which have such like express but also implied pagan rituals, they just turn away from them and accept them as part of this final monotheistic faith, which just, it blows my mind now. Because this is fact, this is historical fact. Everyone across the board is agreed on this.
This is in the Sharia. This section here, J5.9, it's in, you go to the links in the description, Reliance of the Traveler. This is the most popular, the most used Islamic law manual in the world that teaches you how to do all of this. This is directly from the Islamic Sharia, the Islamic law. Myth Vision had a question. Oh, who is Lloyd's favorite Islamic Western scholar in academia? Who has had the most impact? To be honest, I don't think there's any one. I'm utilizing at least 60 different resources right now. Right, Wikipedia, Saint Wikipedia. Sorry. If I read the comments correctly, Wikipedia is my greatest resource. So there's no one scholar. I'm working through dozens of different texts. I'm trying to corroborate between different scholars, different texts. I also do read the dissenting opinions, but obviously I'm going to read and come to my own conclusions, and I'm providing the evidence, I'm providing the research, the data archive that I'm working with. But there's no one particular scholar that I particularly lean towards. I mean, I watch Jay Smith, for instance. I watch whomever, right? But I don't necessarily, I mean, I watch it to learn things. I don't necessarily agree with everything everyone says, and no one's going to agree with everything I say. But everything that I'm doing here is sourced from something. So I'm looking at just where does the evidence lead me? Well, what is the preponderance, or where does the evidence push me? You understand? I'm kind of thinking, what are your thoughts, Nuria, from what I'm presenting? I'm not going to any one scholar, you know, and saying, well, I like this guy. I'm saying, look, this is a multitude, dozens of scholars, and this is okay. So all this data is in silos. These scholars have not made connections between these pieces of data. I'm the one trying to link between them and to create a thesis, a narrative. Your thoughts on that? I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, Derek, thank you so much again for the super chat and for your question. So yeah, I completely agree, Lloyd, because I was going to push you and say if you had to choose one favorite, but I agree, and that's why I found your presentation really, really appealing, was because the fact that you've gone ahead and like you've kind of corroborated across the board, but also the fact that you haven't just kind of like piggybacked off any other scholar and exactly what they're saying. So you're not afraid to kind of like take these turns that are necessary. And as a result of doing that, perhaps like you've managed to connect dots that, you know, maybe they've overlooked, for example. So that's what I really, really found appealing. The fact that like we can still take all of this information on board while also keeping in mind the Petra theory and then kind of putting all of this together, because it just paints the bigger picture and keeps kind of giving us more insights into what could have or inevitably did lend an impact or direct influence on Islam, or if not direct, subtle influences. So I just obviously think the more we unpack here, the more we're going to find. So I completely get that. And I'm the exact same as you. I watch and listen to a lot of different ones and I just absorb the information. And then where I see a lot of things kind of coming like together, that's where I kind of lean towards them. So I just exactly the same. I pick and choose, listen to everybody, and then I kind of follow the evidence or see where the pattern's leaning towards.
I do try to look at both sides of the argument. I do try and see, look, this guy says A and the other guy contradicts it with B. You know, is there substance to, I need to look at that. And I've looked at some of these. I mean, like there's the claim that the Muslims will come with, oh, but Al-Makka was a sun god, but there's so little evidence for that. And I mean, that's another discussion for another time, but there's reasons for that. There's three scholars that talk about it. Okay. There's Rickmans, Garbini, and Perrine, right? There's three of them or something like that. And I dismiss that because I've looked at the evidence. I've thought about it very carefully. I've seen where they went wrong. Okay, I believe I can convincingly, at least to myself, I know where they went wrong, why they came to that conclusion. If I ask someone who says, oh, they're sun gods, why did they get to that conclusion? What specific piece of data led them to that conclusion? Because Rickmans based his opinion, not of his own research, but of the other two guys. He's saying, oh, I agree with those guys. Well, then why did those two guys come to that conclusion? And I bet you they won't be able to tell me. I'm not going to tell you, but, you know, let them surprise me why they specifically came to that conclusion, and I can tell you why they were wrong. Right. So, but anyway, moving on. So, okay. So,
yeah. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
This is what we were talking about, kissing the hand. Yes, great, Eddie.
Yeah. So now again, this one is called Inscriptional Evidence of Pre-Islamic Classical Arabic, Selected Readings in Nabatean, Musnad, and Akkadian Inscriptions. So you got Al-Makka again, who is linked to Baal.
Yeah.
Okay. Al-Makka is now Baal. Now we know that Al-Makka is claimed to be derived from Il, supposedly the word God in Hebrew, and Makkah, protecting. Now, I found a number of different interpretations of Makkah, so hell, I don't know what to think here, right? Thank you. I will do. So I found no evidence, blah blah. So now some of these meanings for Makkah may be bright white. I found like a whole bunch of different. Sometimes these scholars are all over the place. Okay, Al-Makka could also be Al-Nik, Al-Amka, and there's multiple different spellings, the shining white. And then, of course, this word Al-Mak or Al-Mik, right? So blah, blah, blah. And now notice, remember we mentioned Muhammad, they speak of Nur, like your name, Nuriya, right? The light of Muhammad is the Nur, right? The light of Allah is the Nur. And we know that Al-Nur is not the light, it is the moon light.
Yeah, exactly.
So Al-Makka is the shining white, and now they're linking it to the Nur, the moonlight.
Wow, right.
And the Nur of Allah, the Nur Allah, the Nur Muhammadi, right? Now, some say Al-Mak means love. Now, love is one of the characteristics of Allah, and that God was called Wad, right? And literally, notice here, Al-Makka could be the shining moon god.
My days.
Okay?
Yes, okay.
So it's also a bright white moon. And this is the exact meaning given of the word Mek by the Lisan al-Arab, the most important Arabic dictionary, the oldest Arabic dictionary. If you can just remove the comment because it's blocking that. The Lisan al-Arab is 20 volumes. It's the most famous Arabic dictionary. And Mek, al-Makka, is the bright white moon.
Wow, okay. And this Lisan al-Arab you're saying is the oldest dictionary as well.
20 volumes, yeah. They're two most famous. They're the two most famous Arabic dictionaries. Remember when I showed the word deen, I used two dictionaries.
Yeah.
The Qamus al-Muhit and the Lisan al-Arab, which both give 4 definitions for the word deen. The Lisan al-Arab and the Qamus al-Muhit are the 2 most famous Arabic dictionaries.
Okay. Wow. Right. So this is literally as old as it gets.
So Mek here is the white moon, and it's associated with the nur, the light, al-nur,
Yeah.
the moonlight. So, okay, so notice there are hadith in which the word al-maq means love, al-maq.
Mhm.
So there are these connections. I mean, I'm not saying this is definitive. No one thing is probably definitive, but if you look at just the mass of all of these connections, all of these, the evidence just seems to point always in one direction.
Yeah.
Okay, now just briefly, Waraka ibn Nawfal. I'm just going to briefly whiz past this guy. Biographical details of Waraka. This is the guy, the supposed Christian. So Pagan became a Jew, became a Christian, who supposedly confirmed that Muhammad was a prophet, the prophet awaited by the Christians and by the Jews. They're few in number and legendary in character. So he seems to be just entirely. He might have been real, but his whole character seems legendary. Waraka was the son of Nawfal bin Asad Abd al-Uzza. So his father was named after Al-Uzza, was a
Hmm.
worship of Al-Uzza. His father was
Wow.
pagan.
Yep. It's like similarly how Muhammad's supposed alleged father was Abdullah, slave of Allah.
Yeah, so Allah was around before Muhammad was born. That's why Noah had to become a Muslim. That's why Abraham was a Muslim. That's why Adam was a Muslim, because they had to say,
Yeah.
well, okay, Allah was around before Muhammad was born, so everyone was a Muslim.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy was also very closely related to Khadija, wasn't he? I think he was her cousin as
He
well.
was the
So
cousin of the Prophet's first wife, Khadija.
yeah,
Actually, let me
okay,
show
yeah,
you
there we go.
something. The implications of this, of Muhammad being a Muslim, sorry, of
Mhm.
Abraham being a Muslim. I'm going to show you this. So
Yeah,
Abraham hates the Jews and the Christians. This is called the doctrine of al-wala al-bara. Okay, disassociation and hatred, or loyalty and disavowal. Loyalty to Islam, disavowal of the non-Muslims. Disassociation from your enemies and hatred of them. Okay,
yeah,
so after loving Allah and His Messenger, Allah obligates us to love those who love Allah and to hate those who oppose Allah.
yeah.
That's everyone is not a Muslim.
Hmm.
Okay, the Islamic belief system, the Aqidah, obligates every Muslim to love the people of Tawhid and hate the people of Shirk. So this is
Correct.
a
Yeah,
God who calls for hatred. This
yeah,
obligation comes from the creed of Abraham, the creed we are ordered to follow. This is the implication. Okay, so basically, in the Quran 60, verse 4, you already had a fair example in Abraham and the ones with him as they said to their people, surely we are quit of you, we are done with you, and whatever you worship apart from Allah. We disbelieve in you, and between you and us, enmity, which means hostility, hatred, ill will, animosity, antagonism has appeared, and abhorrence, extreme repugnance, loathing, abomination forever until you believe in Allah. This is what they did with Abraham.
wow.
Understand, this is the implication of what they've
Yeah,
done by claiming him as a Muslim. Abraham now teaches, as the father of nations now teaches the Muslims to hate all non-Muslims, and of course these are fighting words.
exactly. They are all really like violent ridden. They all have violent ridden connotations.
Yeah,
But also, it's interesting that just off the back of this as well, that like the biggest sin in Islam is shirk, actually, to
yeah,
associate partners with Allah. So yeah, that this is like taken such a it's just taken to a whole nother level with how it's embedded into the roots of Islam, this hatred for polytheists.
yeah. Hatred for everybody. Yeah. In
Everybody,
fact,
yeah.
look, yeah, if you need to understand Muhammad. How can I explain this? Again, it's slightly outside the scope, but you must understand within. Okay, remember I said there's 2 sides of Islam. The one side is the law,
Mhm.
follow the rules and shut up, right?
Yeah.
The other side is the spiritual doctrine, which is not open to Muslims, to regular Muslims, to lay Muslims. It's only open to the major scholars, the Sufis specifically, right?
Hmm.
And understand, Allah is aloof. He's far away. He doesn't come into creation. Allah is far away. So Allah set the world in motion and then He
Yeah.
disappeared. Right now, you must understand that if you go into the seerah and you go into the spiritual aspect of Islam, because Allah is gone, the planets can't turn on their own. The universe can't run on its own. So Muhammad is the one who intercedes for Allah because Allah is gone, far away. I can cover this another time. I'll show you the references. But
Mhm.
Allah is
So
missing
Allah's like sitting on his arsh, on his throne,
wherever
somewhere
the heck Allah
way.
is.
Yeah.
He's gone. He made the
Yeah,
world and he disappeared, took a
yeah.
holiday.
Sitting on top
So
of the seventh heaven now. Yeah.
Muhammad is the force that moves the universe, moves the planet, spins them, moves them around the sun. Muhammad is the force that acts, that intercedes for Allah, because Allah is gone.
Wow. Okay.
The universe was made for Muhammad.
Yeah.
Okay, Muhammad was there at the creation. It was made for him, and he now is the force. The Ruh Muhammadi, the spirit of Muhammad, is what moves the world.
Wow.
Literally,
Okay.
that is shirk of the highest order. If you read the Sirah, you'll find that Muhammad's a deity and the critical partner. Allah cannot function. The world cannot function without Muhammad.
Yeah. You see, I mean, you see implications of that anyway. Even I think there was a Quran verse, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is a very damaging Quran verse as well, which basically interchanges the two, or really points at the fact that you like worship Muhammad was kind of given preference and precedent over worshipping Allah. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but if I find it, I'll add it to the description. But same thing exactly. You kind of wonder to yourself, is Muhammad deified in the sense that,
He is.
like, yeah,
You go into the Sirah, and he most. I showed that in a couple of episodes ago. Yeah. So yeah, he most definitely is. But I
it
mean,
also, Lloyd,
those are
just shows what even, sorry, for example, the blasphemy laws that we see in a lot of the countries where it's still, they have put so much more emphasis on like blaspheming against the prophet. Nobody really cares about Allah. It's literally, this is Muhammad and his like deification, i.e. cult of personality, that we have to protect over everything, even over God himself.
correct. Remember, we covered this. I'll just briefly run through this again. This is the Sharia law. This is the Islamic law. It's called the summary of the unsheathed. This is the summary. It's not the full work, but it's a summary. The unsheathed sword against the one who insults the messenger. Note, not the one who insults Mo.
Allah, yeah.
Right now, notice this is okay. So this is, it says here. We've read this before.
Mm.
Whoever insults the prophet is to be killed, whether they are Muslim or a disbeliever. Why do you think Samuel Paty was killed in France?
Yeah.
Killing is prescribed on the one who insults the prophet, and it is not permissible to imprison, show favor, or to ransom him. Any Muslim or non-Muslim who insults Muhammad is to be killed, and repentance is not sought. This is the law. Right? I covered this at length.
Yeah. That's a
right?
madness, because you know, even when in countries where you have blaspheme supposedly, and it's not to do with the prophet, they try and give that element of, we'll give you 3 days to repent. But in that script, in that text you just showed us, if you have said anything about the prophet, there's absolutely no leeway. There's no window of repentance or any margin of error. You are done for. You're killed.
Right now, yeah, someone asked you, so shouldn't they all kill us? Look, there are rules. You must understand, Islam is a religion of law. It's a religion of rules. So there's like, yes, they must under full Sharia, but full Sharia is not in place. So once it's in place, yes, they will. But until then, they need to do jihad, right? When they can, assuming that they can be successful. If they can't be successful, they shouldn't. But also, there's a whole series of checks and balances. There's a whole bunch of rules they've got to work through. It's in the doctrine called commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. It's a whole series of rules that you have to work your way through to decide. And I mean, but if you look through this, okay, the hadith of the blind man who killed a woman when he heard her insulting the prophet, there's no difference of opinion narrated from concerning the killing of people. Okay, such a person, there's the consensus upon the obligation of killing such a person. Scholars have consensus that whoever insults the messenger, in other words, if you attribute a defect to him, if you don't think Muhammad is perfect, then you've insulted Muhammad. Then such a person is a disbeliever. And I do not know who differed concerning the obligation of killing such a person. See,
That's like, even if you say that Muhammad wasn't like white or fair, you're in trouble.
Yes,
that's
correct.
how bad it is.
See,
if you call him black, you kill him. You're supposed to be killed.
Yeah. And killing due to the likes of these reasons, they call this the political killing. Islam has political killing, political assassinations. You see, right? There are texts from them that the one who insults the messenger is to be killed. Now, if you go through this book, you will find reference after reference. You must fight them, kill them, fight them, kill them, fight them, kill them, fight them, kill them. Zayd is to be killed. Those who invoke any other gods shall receive the punishment. Punishment is killing. Okay, so killing. Okay, fought. They must be fought. They must be killed. They must be fought. They must be killed. It's just constant.
And sorry, Lloyd, even just in Muhammad's own time, for example, what we read from the scripture in the Hadith, there was that instance where there was this man and he was considered to be like the most pious, pious Muslim of them all. And Muhammad actually said to go and kill him. And the man went into the mosque to pray. And so one of the companions said, "Oh, I'd go and kill him, but then it's forbidden to kill a Muslim while they're in mid prayer." So he came out and said, "Oh, he's praying, I'll kill him once he leaves the mosque." And then the other companion went in to kill him, but by then he had like fled and run away. But Muhammad then, in his own, this is a story from the Islamic scriptures themselves, where Muhammad, in that own time, is killing off somebody who is supposedly one of the most true believers of his own faith. Because like I don't know what it was with obviously you also mentioned that he had a competing prophet at that time, which he didn't like at all. But by the same breath, this killing, if the leader of this cult, so to speak, is okay with killing somebody who is the most ardent follower of that cult out of whatever reason, that's a killing that's ridiculous to even like consider. So imagine how they would consider killing anybody else for political or religious expansion purposes who they consider or deem to be an unbeliever.
Yeah, it's called for since the time of Abraham to hate us.
Yeah.
So to continue, Attar is the name of the star god, right? In Islam, the stars have souls. So Attar, a relic of the prophet, and today this is how they use the word, but in Islamic astrology, it's a technical term in the theory of causality, right? In controlling your fate with reference to the influence of the stars. And I've mentioned before, the stars in Islam are considered higher beings that have a soul. That's a pagan belief.
Yeah, that the stars have souls. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pagan belief. And tahleel, the saying of the formula, blah, 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 the first element of the Shahada, and also jubilation at seeing the new moon, right? Hilal, again, Hilal is the name of the moon god, right? The crescent moon, and they're excited about seeing this moon.
So hold on, Lloyd, is that saying that on jubilation at seeing the new moon, when they'd be so excited, they would La ilaha illallah was said then?
Yeah, apparently so. Jubilation, tahleel. What's the first element? And also jubilation, seeing them. We'd have to check to confirm. We'd have to go to volume 10 of the Encyclopedia of Islam, page 108, to learn more about this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Guys, please do if you're interested.
And of course, Allah swears by the stars, by the oath of the beloved shining star, Muhammad. Now, this is a deceitful translation. By the star when it sets. Notice how this guy translates it by oath of the beloved shining star, Muhammad. They stick Muhammad's name in there. But by the star when it sets, your companion is not deceived. So Allah swears by the stars.
Yeah.
Now, why I would swear in the name of Allah? I promise you, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because you swear on something greater than you. So why would Allah swear on the stars?
Exactly. And that's a common theme throughout, swearing on things like the stars. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then Tafsir Ibn Abbas mentions, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just thinking about all the star references in the Quran because they're always so glorified. Sorry.
Yeah, and then Tafsir Ibn Abbas tells us Allah set on him a lion near Haran. Haran is where Abraham was from. This is where Göbekli Tepe is, in that region. Yeah. That's where Abraham came from. That snatched him from among his friends. And again, and Allah, it is said here that Allah swore by the stars when they set in Haran.
What?
Haran worshipped
exactly.
the Lord of Sirius, remember?
Yes, exactly. I just can't believe my eyes right now. I can't believe this is in Tafsir Ibn Abbas. Oh, God.
So now they're connecting this action, which the god of Haran did.
Yes.
They were connected, and they're connecting this to Haran.
Lloyd, what are you showing me?
Yep. So there you go. So understand that there's this connection. At least now you've got this. It tore him apart for his impurity, and it said, Allah saw by the stars when they set. And this is a lion near Haran in Turkey. So back to that. Just really interesting. So now, Encyclopedia of the Quran. Okay. So notice, now let's look at Qamar. Now you've got this whole idea, short version. Qamariya are the moon letters. So the Arabic alphabet has sun letters and moon letters. Okay. The Arabic alphabet has sun and moon letters. Probably no relationship to moons or anything. And notice the alphabet contains 14, the tajweed. Okay, the alphabet contains 14 shamsi or solar or sun letters and 14 qamari or moon letters.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, some letters are those that blend. For example,
Yeah.
in spoken Arabic, al-Rasul, the prophet is pronounced as ar-Rasul because Ra is the blending sun letter. Ra is also an Egyptian god,
Yeah.
right? So now
Yeah.
that's fascinating. But actually, let me go. Actually, you know what? Let me look up something here. Let me just remember. So, Akhruf. Yeah, let me just look this up briefly. So, Akhruf.
This is fascinating. I'm really mind
Okay.
blown today.
So they speak of the Akhruf and the Qira'at. Just reminded me. So in Islam, they speak of the Akhruf and the Qira'at, right? The different versions, the different readings. And they say, no, an Akhruf is a letter of the alphabet, which is correct. They say Akhruf, harf is the singular, plural is Akhruf. Akhruf is the plural, the many, right? Akhruf means word, which is correct. It also means a Quranic reading, a dialect, which is correct. However, if you go into the Encyclopedia of Islam and you go to like this reference, you'll find it's pretty short. It's just a couple of sentences to tell you, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to see like 3 pages worth of explanation for what akhruf really means, you go down here and you go to the ilm al-akhruf, onomatomancy, a magical practice based on the occult properties of the letters of the alphabet and of the divine and angelic names which they form.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay. So even Lloyd, even the alphabet now,
Yes,
even
the
the
Islamic alphabet
letters.
is magical. Yes. So I'm just going to go.
I can't.
So
Cannot
so let me
deal with
actually go
this.
find this. So this is volume 3595. So let me actually just bring that up. Let's go and find that page and see what they tell us.
Were you just out of interest? Were you kind of taken aback when you discovered that even the alphabet supposedly has this like magical occultist elements
Yeah,
to it?
I have no idea what to make of this stuff.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. I just wanted to know that like your reaction was a bit similar to mine. Like, what?
Yeah. So this is the part they forget to tell you. Let's have a look at huruf, akhruf, okay? The science of letters, ilm al-huruf, the science of letters. Onomatomancy, it's a magical practice. Give it the name Semiya, usually reserved for white magic. Well, if we've just noticed earlier, white magic, black magic, ash magic.
Interchangeable. Yeah.
And they speak of the occult properties of the letters of the alphabet. They speak of arithmomancy or gematria, Arabic gematria, based on alchemy. The 28 letters of the Arabic alphabet are divided into 4 categories, each of 7 letters corresponding to the 4 basic elements: fire, air, water, earth. The fire letters, the air letters, the water letters, the earth letters, lunar and solar letters used for magic, for incantations.
Wow. These guys were hocus pocusing it from the day dot, even enshrined, woven into the alphabet. The letters, the connecting letters.
Yeah. There's stuff going on here that we don't know about. Let me tell you something. We haven't
can't even
begun to dig.
fathom. Lloyd, because if this is correct, and like then you are so accurate when you say we haven't even begun to dig how deep this goes and what these links are to like occultism, whatever I mean, there's probably like Kabbalistic elements to this, the Sufi
There's
thing we need
Arabic
to
Kabbalah. Yep.
yeah. It's a whole
This
element of
stuff.
mysticism that is like deep seated. It's almost dark. It's kind of like
it's
dark
secret.
and I was gonna say it's like secret sorcery school.
So understand there's stuff going on with Islam that we don't know about. So notice we've mentioned this, right? Yeah, I see if I missed any questions. So let's have a quick
guys,
look
let us know
here.
if you do have any questions as we're talking.
So light also this is from the Encyclopedia of the Quran. It's six volumes. It's like 4,000 pages or whatever. Light also refers to the sun and the moon. They separate, they distinguish. Moonlight is called nur. Sunlight is called diya. But remember, when they speak in Islam of
it's always
the light of Allah, it's the nur, not
always.
the sunlight. It's the nur.
Yeah.
Okay. So understand, may the sun the light and the moon the light, and it's always they speak of Qamar Nuran. Qamar is the name of the moon. Your name is Nuria.
Yeah. So mine's like the moonlight of Yah.
It's
Yahweh?
probably that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming so. I don't.
Yeah, because it's Hebrew.
Yeah. Then it's the light of. But the thing is, I mean, look, we don't want to be overly simplistic in the way we interpret this as well. But I'm just
Mhm.
presenting evidence, and I'm saying, look, I mean, this can be unpacked further. Any one of these things can be unpacked further.
Yeah,
Let's have a
for
look at the
sure.
pagan moon religion. In other cultures, the moon was female, the sun was male. The genders are reversed in Arabia. The moon is masculine, just like in
Of
Babylon,
course.
oddly enough. The
Yeah.
star is the son of the moon. Okay, the offspring, the child, right, of the moon and the sun. In Islam, they fast from the moon to the moon. Islam is a lunar calendar. Islam's
Yeah.
mosques all have pagan crescent moons. Notice this guy. Oh, there's another thing I've got to bring up here. Yeah, right. So notice, you'll see here. I'm just going to bring this over.
Yeah.
Let me go back to you. Now notice here, this beautiful little picture here. This is, see, look at the horns and the sun between. Right, now look
Yeah.
here. Look how
Yeah.
excited they get about the moon above the Kaaba. So now you've got, look at these horns. They're so excited, photography, that it's in your face.
It is in your face. You are right.
This is
It's like, you know how
Babylonian.
you have like phallic imagery over like across Europe and stuff? This is literally like, even the way they take these photos, and even the fact that it's obligatory for these mosques to have a crescent thing somewhere, you know, in the minaret.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so
It's
yeah,
really interesting to me, Lloyd, just to I don't mean to deviate, but it's
yeah,
really
sure,
interesting to me
please.
how somebody even said earlier as well, like they've done really well to kind of like combine it, but not like deviate from their roots, which just seems a bit mad to me now, because it's like what you showed earlier about Muslims getting excited about the moon lining up with the Kaaba, for example, and like the same kind of incantations, which are like the starting point of how you start reciting the Quran, and all of these things like moon worship and Ramadan and the Yemeni corner of the Kaaba, like whoever did this and however they've like kept it with like they've the facade of monotheism that they've put on it, and they've kind of said, oh, the Christians and the Jews, they're like that, you know, that they were guided, but now they're a bit confused. Yet here we are, and they've just masked so much paganism with like this blanket of monotheism, but they've managed to keep so much intact. It just blows my mind that these holes haven't been blown into it before, because somebody coming from that, even from that monotheistic strand, would think, but Islam does so well to just make enough reference to like biblical stories and biblical prophets to form that connection. Like, oh yeah, we'll latch on to like Abraham and, you know, the Garden of Eden and that story, and we'll take on all their prophets as our own. 124,000 to be exact. But then deep down, they're masquerading so much paganism.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, but I believe that is the case. It's a
It's
facade.
wild.
It's masking
Yeah,
paganism.
it's wild to me. Because that's very well done. You've conned a crap load of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. So again, moon aligns directly above Kaaba and Mecca's Grand Mosque. That's just, yeah, okay, well, they're very excited about that moon, right? And of
Yeah,
course, here you've got, now look at this symbol and look at that symbol, Baal,
yeah.
and that. And I mean, and it's kind of similar to this little guy here.
It's very similar indeed.
The bull of Al-Makkah, the bull of Baal, the bull of, it's a common, yeah, there you go, back to paganism. So understand, there's so much of this going on here.
And again, Lloyd, just like little things, because I'm just trying to like fit my laywoman previous Muslim experiences into this. But for example, as you said, like with the lunar calendar, when it comes to like Eid festivities and things like that, it is such a big deal. Like when you're in a Muslim country, you are all waiting, and the government and everything is waiting for this moon sighting, and then they go and they make a big deal of like going and sighting the moon, and then they pray afterwards, and all of us, like, you know, lay Muslims are so excited by that. We call it like in Pakistan in Urdu we call it Chand Raat, which literally means moon night, and it's the night of the sighting of the moon, and we put henna
Wow.
on and we go and like get new clothes and stuff for Eid. So it is, that whole night is a celebration of the fact that we have seen the moon. We still do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just a coincidence. It's got nothing to do with, yeah,
Absolute coincidence.
this
Nothing
huge,
to it.
massive moon above these horns of the bull above Mecca. Don't
Yeah.
believe your lying eyes. Don't. Yeah. So let's continue. So of course, the Baba
realize,
Rahma.
real lies. Tupac.
Yeah. So Kaaba doors, the sun symbol. Here you've got the sun. Here you've got the moon on the doors of the Kaaba.
Yeah.
Right. And as I mentioned before, this is the previous set of doors on that Kaaba. And here you go. They had the sun. It's just odd that you have the sun. Now look, I mean, understand you could have the sun, but it's just kind of just why? Why not a rose? Or why not? I don't know. Why not a pelican, a tiger? Whatever. I think about it, just the constant
Now,
recurrence of certain
Lloyd, don't get
themes.
carried away. No graven images, okay? This is Islam, remember?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll skip this one. The grammatical gender of the moon shows that Allah was a moon god. Okay, so the reason I'm emphasizing constantly is that the vast majority of scholars, now look, a consensus of scholars doesn't mean that they're right. I mean, granted, there are some things that the scholars say that I think is complete nonsense. I think it's total trash, and I go against that. Okay, because I've read what I think is, so yeah, granted. But in this case, the two scholars that claim sun god status, there's a reason why they did that, and that reason is not a good reason. It's a mistake. I'm fairly sure I can prove it's a mistake. Whereas constantly you get these references because in all of these geographies, all out through history, there's always a moon god.
Yeah.
Okay. So the words involving the moon are masculine. Kamad, moon, Badr, full moon. The Battle of Badr, Battle of the full moon. Why is that so important? Hilal, the crescent moon. The word for sun in Semitic languages is feminine, but Yusuf Ali says the moon was a male divinity in ancient India. Was a male divinity in ancient Semitic religion. Well, thank you, Yusuf Ali, and all that. And the Britannica. And the Arabic word for the moon, Kamad, is of the masculine gender. On the other hand, the Arabic word for the sun is of feminine gender.
Wow. That is very interesting. And because it's also interesting that Islam inverted it in the sense that if they were to give like Allah or Baal or whatever the top status, they wouldn't want that to be a feminine status,
Correct, exactly. And the pagan Arabs looked upon the sun as a goddess and the moon as a god. Quran translations do not follow the Arabic conventions concerning the gender of the sun and the moon. Unfortunately, the English translations often follow Western conventions, Greek conventions.
Right.
And that's part of the mistake that a couple of those scholars made in thinking that was a sun god. See? So scholars generally follow ancient mythologies of their locale. So if you're sitting in the UK, you see it from a UK perspective. Oh, it's a sun god. So English translations use masculine pronouns for the sun and feminine for the moon. You see, that's part of the problem in the translation. But in Arabic, it's the opposite.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's quite a huge thing when you deal with how many translations are already out there. Because that
Yeah.
changes a lot. Like everything we see then from Pickett Hall, like Yusuf Ali, Mohsin Khan, all these translations are doing it in the localized English transliteration.
So there's lots of fun things going on that we need to question. There are things we need to understand. So there's
Precisely.
there are things that need to be clarified, things that need to be sifted through. Okay, so coins with crescent and star. So this is Haran in Turkey, crescent and star. Okay, probably just a coincidence. Okay, so of course they want to claim that it was in 1843 that the Turks went with this. No. They were going with it from BC already. So Hadrian, okay, this is his denarius. Notice the same here, pagan. Star
Yeah.
within crescent moon, and another with 7 stars above a crescent moon. Okay, this is the Templar seal. That's also very, very interesting. The Templars are another interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay, Persian, Sasanian Empire, crescent, and you got this little moon or star inside of it. Notice here, this Parthian, 1st century. This is Iran, right? Turk Shahi, 1st quarter of the 8th century, crescent, and then you've got stars, crescent and star. So this
Wow.
Turkish
Yeah.
thing was going way back. This is 8th century. This is from, I think, much earlier than that. So
Yeah, and especially when we talk about Haran and, as you said, the distance where we find the world's oldest temple dedicated to Sirius, it makes sense.
yeah, no, agreed. So let's say Egypt and Turkey. So ancient Egyptian moon goddesses. Notice you've got the star, so the crescent, and here you've got the crescent symbol again. This is in North Africa as well, Ethiopia, Yemen. It's all over the place. We started with that in the first episode. I showed some of these. So that continues here. So this idea of this crescent and the crescent with the disk, it could be the sun, it could be the star, Venus, right? Anatolian mural from Karum, Anatolian, Turkey, back to this star, crescent. So it goes way back. It's not a modern idea. Thank you very much, Shaquille. Appreciate that. Right. So let's look at Yemen, the Himyarites, and Saba. So these are coins from that region. Notice you've got the bull again. I'm sure we saw a bull somewhere. And notice you've got these 3 pillars. And we've mentioned there used to be 6 pillars inside the Kaaba. Now they are 3. And notice this guy has 3 pillars and you've got the bull, right? And we've mentioned the bull is associated with Al-Makkah. Al-Makkah was Baal. Baal was Allah.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the Venus-moon couplet. So it's Venus, okay? And Al-Makkah, the moon god, and the Bakka symbol. Now, I know everyone's always debating, what is Bakka? Because Bakka is mentioned in the Quran. Well, maybe. I'm not saying it is, but what if it's the Bakka symbol, meaning glory be to Allah? But in this case, Allah is Al-Makkah.
Al-Makkah, yeah, okay.
And that's the Bakka symbol. That's Bakka. Bakka, then, in which case, would be Yemen.
So is this a common term for that, like that symbol, Bakka? Was it used?
Yeah, this is the Bakka symbol. So this symbol here on the coin.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the symbol. This is the meaning. Glory be to Allah. It was
oh my days. Yeah. Because I've always, because I mean, obviously Muslims try and say, oh, it was just Mecca or whatever, or like, you know, but the Bakka thing was so interesting. Why? But this is the first time I've heard like a decent explanation for what it is
so
or what it stands
for. Was the Awam temple dedicated to Al-Makkah in Yemen, right? We've mentioned these temples, so I'll actually just bring that up. So let me find, bugger, I can't find it. Okay, so let me just do that. I'm waiting for something to load. So we've mentioned also in Yemen, there were these temples, like the temple of Bilqis, right?
Yes. Who was mentioned in the Quran as well, as we talked about last time.
So for some reason...
And common perception is she's Queen of Sheba, if you're interested in doing some more digging into that. But yes.
Okay. So
Shakil's watching us, Lloyd, while having iftar. Happy iftar, Shakil.
Yep. So this monitor is so far away from me. So let's have a look here. Awam temple is here. Okay. It's either this one or this one. I can't remember offhand. This is the temple of Bilqis right here. And then this is Marib. This was the capital at the time. So it's one of these temples that are very close to each other.
Right. Okay? Yeah.
So these temples are separated. These two are separated by like as little as 600 meters. And these ones are separated by 35 kilometers, give or take.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're very close. So it's one of these was the temple of Awam. So this was, and this coin was dedicated to Bakka. Okay, dedicated to Al-Makkah. So
okay.
So that was the location.
Really onto something here with the Bakka thing, Lloyd. Like that's a whole nother stream in itself.
Yeah. So just something to bear in mind on these coins, on these. Okay, and notice here you've got the name on this coin from that region, from the Yemenis, Sin, the Babylonian god.
Yes.
Sin.
Okay.
So now you've got Sin associated with Al-Makkah. Al-Makkah was Sin on the coin.
Yeah.
So these symbols are often found on South Arabian coins, which all happen to be found in this latest Sabaean Bucranium coin. That's a skull. This is a Bucranium, skull of an ox, the skull of a cow kind of thing. Bucranium coin from the 2nd to the mid-3rd century. The bull with the lyre-shaped horns with the plumage between is probably an animal manifestation of Al-Makkah. The Bakka symbol is of interest. It was placed in the obverse of some Sabaean coins, right next to the bent ladder symbol of Al-Makkah. The Bakka symbol meant glory be to Allah. Therefore, Al-Makkah was probably known as Allah in pre-Islamic times. Allah seems to have been preceded by Al-Makkah or Al-Makkah, the moon god. And there's 1,781 occurrences in the corpus for the South Arabian inscriptions for Al-Makkah.
Okay, I'm just trying to take that information in because that's mental to me, because there we've got the bull with the horns, we've got that symbolism seeping through this whole way, but also it's just really becoming apparent that so many across like this entire geographical landscape at that time, across these various civilizations, there was that common denominator of this worship of Sirius and Sin and Al-Makkah, Baal, Allah. And then again, if Allah, like it says here, seems to have been preceded by Al-Makkah, the moon god, again, it just fits into place in terms of, like, as you mentioned earlier, people before Islam, were named after other goddesses and stuff. And we talked about Abdullah being the slave of Allah before Islam came into existence. This makes it all pretty possible based on what we're seeing here. It's already Allah, al-Makkah, Baal, the worship of Sirius and Sin was across the board, and there was such a mishmash of these like cultures and traditions through these trading, warring tribes and these nations and this like whatever was happening. There was so much like what's the word? There was just like
mixing.
It's a pick and mix, yeah. Let's say.
Yeah. So this is the digital archive for the study of pre-Islamic Arabian inscriptions, right? So apparently al-Makkah, right? So this is a very big archive. It was so corpus of South Arabian inscriptions. That's what I was referring to. Ancient North Arabian inscriptions, Aramaic inscriptions, Nabatean inscriptions. So you can knock yourself out, right? That's where I got that, not Wikipedia, right? But notice al-Makkah. Now, in this case, they spell it differently. So you've got to go through like a dozen different spellings. So that's part of the problem. You've got to know there's like 12 different spellings of this word, right? And it can also be called other names. It could be called Freddy, right? Yeah. So now you got to look for Freddy as well,
Yeah.
So understand, but notice at times the name al-Makkah in the inscriptions is the name of a deity. But at other times, it's a sanctuary, a place, a geographic location, Makkah as a place.
Wow. Okay. So we've got Makkah, the god, and then we've got Mecca, the sanctuary, or as we know,
temple.
Many different Meccas, exactly, especially in Yemen. And these two are almost interchangeable in that sense. It's either a deity or it's either a sanctuary or altar to worship a deity.
And Muhammad. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just which obviously the pyramid coincides, and that's eventually whether it's Baal or Allah, whatever. It's the top of that pantheon.
And Muhammad sends 150 men to go destroy the Kaaba of Yamaniya. Don't forget.
Yes, true.
He sends 150 men to destroy the Kaaba of Yemen. Can't have competition now, can we?
No, we've got to destroy the competition when and as it arises. Yes, exactly. That is very true to what we see anyway in modern scripture, but that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So,
but also, Lloyd, when you just another quick question out of interest.
Sure.
When you first came across this and you saw like Mecca in terms of, I've been following you up until now about that being a god, whereas obviously I knew that Mecca in general like was I had the altar thing in my head before I started doing these with you, but then I started thinking of it purely in terms of like the deity as we were discussing, and now to have the fact that obviously that word can relate to both. Did this ever like make you slip up when you're doing your research because you realize that like Sin, Baal, Makkah, Allah, they could all be like one and the same but distinguished because of wherever, whichever people are referring to it. And similarly, al-Makkah could be interchangeable. Like, did this ever throw you off? Because to me, I would be like, okay, does it have these, like, can it have both of these meanings at the same time kind of thing?
Yeah,
like the duality of it, or...
I mean, there's so much, it's hard to tell where it's possible probably to slip up because there's so much similarities between all of these. To distinguish between them, to make clear distinctions can be very hard. But the thing is, the more I did this, the more I came to my personal convictions, shall we say, right? Based on the evidence I'm looking at, is that Makaraba, Hiran, al-Makkah, this seems to be the root name or the root location, plus the root or an area associated with Makkah, right? So this whole area of Yemen is associated with the god Makkah, but also it's associated with the place, the Kaabas of Yemen. I mean, this is a known historical reference, the Kaabas of Yemen. And then, of course, now you've got al-Makkah is also called a place. I mean, so kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a stretch for me to now assume that this was the original Makkah. This is where Makkah comes from, and Muhammad wanted to build, whoever the Muhammad was, built his own one and destroyed all the others.
Yeah. No, that seems very plausible to me as well. I was just wondering, like, at any points did you kind of get thrown off and be like, whoa, this is such a fuzzy area now because so many things are considered to mean one and the same but slightly different. Not so much the Makkah thing, but in terms of especially like equating Sin and Baal and Sirius and Allah, you know what I mean? That for me, that would have thrown me off, and I would have been like, oh, this is a massive like gray area now, unless we can just put them all on and
Yeah, but the
say,
thing is, I think it's a gray area if they're contradictory. If they
okay,
were
fairs.
overwhelmingly contradictory, then I would have a problem. But the fact that there's so much overlap, parallels, echoes, similarities, I think that tells us there's more commonalities than there are differences.
Agreed. And also it's, yeah, as you said, it's a commonality factor, and the fact that it's not implausible to think that they would take on slightly different names or forms, but
This is
essentially be
this is historical fact that they did take on different names.
exactly.
I mean,
So
the
for
Greek
you to
gods
even
are the
find
same as
the
the
like
Roman gods, but with different names and slightly different characters.
exactly, yeah, and some would argue like that's similar to like the some of the Hindu pantheon as well. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see here, for instance, this is a Turkish symbol. Here they've got the crescent moon again, right? This Turkish symbol, and he's standing on the cross. And of course, here you've got Mother Mary again. She's standing on the moon, right?
Oh
This is
yeah.
the right. Understand? So there was this conflict. So there's this strong conflict between these two, right? But notice this is the symbol of the moon god Sin, the crescent on top of this spear. The moon, remember, is a war god. Now here you've got the very similar or very same symbolism.
Yes. Yeah. Wow,
So I mean, look,
okay.
everyone can make up their own minds about what I'm presenting, but just looking at all this in totality, there's just this. So you've got the same symbolism here and here. So this is what the symbol of sin was. Now you've got the same crescent on top of the mosque. Coincidence?
I think not, but yeah, who knows?
Unrelated. I mean, with all the other connections, what do we have here? So let's briefly. So brief detour now to the two-horned one.
Ooh,
Um,
Zulkarnain.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at this guy. So Allah's pagan moon association is plainly seen on every mosque, yet Muslims tell us, do not believe your lying eyes. So we are to believe that Allah is the God of the Bible and not a pagan moon god, although he has the same titles as the pagan gods.
True.
Right? And so in the Quran, King Dhul-Qarnayn is a good Muslim. Dhul-Qarnayn means the two-horned one, or the possessor of two horns, referring to the crescent. Now, look, I'm assuming that they're correct about this, because often when I go have a look, I haven't dug deeply enough into this. I need to get back into the Alexander romances and the Alexander legends. Those are two separate stories about that. I want to dig very deep into that. But
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is correct right now. But of course, we could find out that Qarnayn could mean something completely different if we dig, right? So this refers to the crescent on his royal crown. The crescent crown indicates allegiance to the moon god. That crown, together with the fact that Dhul-Qarnayn watched the sun set in a muddy pool, shows that Dhul-Qarnayn parable and the Quran has a pro-lunar and an anti-solar message.
Wow. Okay, hold on. The fact that Zulkarnain watched the sunset in a muddy puddle or a mud puddle shows that Zulkarnain parable in the Quran has a pro-lunar and anti-solar message. Okay, is that because the sun's kind of being put down with this anticlimactic ending into a muddy puddle?
Something like that. There seems to be this general idea of like this. I mean, the nur, all of these things. There seems to be
Yeah.
this push towards, or this preference for the moon. Now,
Yeah.
notice here, these are the ram. Okay. Now, don't forget the ibex. Now, of course, okay. So I'm utilizing here. This is the ibex of Al Makkah. Remember, Al Makkah was the lord of the ibexes, right? Terah, the name of Abraham's father, means ibex.
Yeah.
Right, one of the names of Al Makkah. Now you've got Dhul-Qarnayn with very similar horns. Now apparently it's the ram. Okay, his father, according to one of the legends, his father was a god with, right. But this is, notice. I mean, so you've got, but it's not implausible to think that you've got the very same kind of, there may well be a connection, that he's got this connection to this moon god, right? And this is the same animal that represents.
Yeah, sorry, no, even if, because what I've heard from the Muslims especially, or what I thought, is that Alexander the Great wore this helmet that like had those two horns, but again, that could still fit in line with this if you're saying that there was a connection there to a moon god, because as we know, like he was a pagan anyway. And this is like this is what we're seeing in history being like worshipped in the same manner just across various locations. So it could be one and the same thing. Exactly.
Yeah, so there may be some connection. So notice they say here, and then of course they make a mistake. I found her and her people prostrating to the sun instead of Allah. This is regarding the Queen of Sheba.
Oh yes.
They were moon worshippers. We know they were moon worshippers. Now the Quran says they were sun worshippers.
Yes.
So
it
that makes a
does.
mistake, right?
It does.
So the Queen of Sheba. Yeah, go on.
But sorry, what we're told, because I kept trying to ask people, like, what's the implication of this story? What's the implication? Why is it in the Quran in such a like haphazard way without any like real historical context behind it? And the whole thing was emphasized on the fact that the Queen of Sheba worshipped the sun, and we had to bring her to the right path, and that's why like King Solomon showed her the right path, which was the one monotheistic God, as opposed to being like sun worshippers were almost looked down on in the same way as like
Well, don't forget
polytheists.
we discussed previously they thought that Solomon worshipped the moon.
Yeah, we did discuss that. You're right. Yeah,
So he had to
exactly.
bring her over to moon worship.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas, yeah, exactly. At the time, we're taught like always bring her over to Islam. It's funny now. It's funny now after everything I know. But yeah, at the time. But again, I just wanted to make that point that the fact that she supposedly, allegedly worshipped the sun was kind of looked down on. That was like, no, wrong path. We need to get her onto the right path. And we can employ jinns and whatever powers King Solomon has to talk to animals and compel jinns to help him, would literally get her onto the right path. And therefore her lineage was saved eventually down the line.
Away from the sun.
Away
So
from the sun,
ultimately,
yeah.
so this scholar called Egerton Sykes tells us that the Sabaean moon god Al-Makka preceded Allah, right? And he ultimately was modeled on the Mesopotamian moon god Sin. And the Quran's Queen of Sheba account shows that the Quran is pro-lunar because it takes her away from the sun.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So Dul-Qarnayn was supposedly a worship of Allah who received his favor as a powerful ruler. Okay. Now, Dul-Qarnayn was not Cyrus the Great, a monotheist. Dul-Qarnayn was not. I mean, they make these claims now that he was not a Muslim. They make a claim it's not Alexander the Great, because obviously once history caught up with them, they realized that it was embarrassing for them. Because
Exactly.
I mean, historically, it's just obvious. I mean, there's other videos you can watch that will discuss that in depth, but it was obviously Alexander the Great. It was not
Yeah.
Cyrus the Great, because if you look at the attributes of this character, Cyrus the Great only has like one of these attributes, and then Alexander has like multiple of them. So it's clearly not Cyrus. And Cyrus the Great, in his inscriptions, he has wings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go. But also the Alexander romance, like it's literally, but you can see where the Quran has just extrapolated so much of that into it. And then again, the
Yes.
claim for so long was that he was a Muslim because that's what the Quran implies. But history tells us no, he was most definitely not. But as Lloyd said, history caught up with them, so now they are clutching at straws.
Yeah, they're forced to now notice there's multiple Yemen hadith, okay, talking about Iman, faith, and hikmah, the wisdom of the knowledge, right? So Iman, Aqidah, so on this website, alghaib.com, right? Another place we're advised to seek knowledge was from Yemen. The Prophet said, the people of Yemen, blah, blah, blah. Belief, Iman, Aqidah, or theology is from Yemen. Wisdom is from Yemen, okay? The Prophet taught we should seek out Iman and Aqidah, theology, from the people of Yemen. Well, they were these pagan Sabaeans, right? And the Asharis, don't forget, Ashari, this again derives from the name of the sun goddess, right? Or the sun god. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the messenger of Allah said, the people of Yemen, blah, blah, blah. Faith is Yemeni. Our faith is Yemeni. Our wisdom is Yemeni.
Wow.
Right? The belief is that of the Yemenites. So again, Muhammad tells us that the belief of Islam is from the Yemenites. The wisdom is of the Yemenites. Right? We notice from Abu Hurairah, again, the capacity for understanding religion is Yemenite. Our wisdom is Yemenite. That's Muslim and Bukhari, right? Da'if Bukhari. Okay? The belief is that of the Yemenites. The understanding of the faith is of the Yemenites. The wisdom is that of the Yemenites. Back to Yemen constantly.
Wait,
right?
sorry, Lloyd. I just want to make just a moment of pause for people to see. This is actually the Hadith. This is Daif Bukhari, i.e. Sahih Bukhari, but yes, Muslims, Daif Bukhari to all of you. This is actually in the Hadith. Over and over again, the belief is that of the Yemenites. The capacity for understanding religion is Yemenite. Wisdom is Yemenite. Just the sheer reference, the amount of times the Yemenites have been referenced in the Hadith itself is already like red flag. Do you know what I mean?
So what was Muhammad taking from the Yemenites?
Yes,
The Yemeni
exactly.
corner.
Yeah.
What was he taking from this? And notice, remember, when you do the Hajj, as you go around the Yemeni corner, you kiss your hand, a pagan
Yeah.
practice. Understand? There's all of these weird things, right? So the Yemen Hadith, the moon gods of the South Arabian kingdoms were, according to the traditional view, Sin of Hadramaut, Wad of Ma'in, Am of the Kataban and Al-Makka of Saba and Himyar. Of course, they were the same. We know these two guys were the same, right? Now, belief is Yemenite, wisdom is Yemenite. Another one from Bukhari, right? We asked Anas which garment so we asked Anas bin Malik, okay, which garment did Allah's messenger, may the police be upon him, love or like to wear? And he said,
they would be in this day and age, I assure
oh,
you.
for
They
sure.
would be onto him. He would be locked away for life.
Yeah. So which garment did Allah's messenger wear? And he said, Muhammad loved the mantle of Yemen.
Wow. Oh
Isn't
my
that
gosh.
fascinating?
That is fascinating. Straight right there in the Hadith themselves. No scholar, no archaeological evidence, the Hadith themselves. Wow. No, Lloyd, I love it when you make links to something that even most Muslims can't deny. When we go back to just the basic scripture, and we just find little bits there that can just rattle your faith with all the connections you've made prior to this. I love it.
Yeah. And of course, I've not seen the Prophet touching except the Yemenite corners, either ones facing Yemen, because they give you salvation, right? They lift your sins, right?
Yeah.
And then it was narrated from Abdullah bin Ubay bin Umayr that a man said, why do I only see you touching these corners? He said, I heard the message of Allah say, touching them erases sins. Something about the Yemeni corners erases. There's something holy about it. What was he getting from Yemen? Right? And then elsewhere, Ibn Taymiyyah argues that it is only permissible to touch and kiss the two Yemeni stones, the black stone in the eastern corner of the Kaaba, and that in the southwest corner of the Kaaba. So now you've got Ibn Taymiyyah telling us, well, you can only touch and kiss the Yemeni corners. Yemen's very special.
Yeah, very special indeed.
Yeah. And then, of course,
and the black stone as well. Sorry, just the reference to the black stone. That there's a hadith which literally says that when we would we would kiss the black stone or whatever, whenever we'd find a better stone, we'd chuck that one out and replace it with a stone that was better at the time. So there's hadiths as well relating to actual stone worship. If they found a better stone around them, they would literally take that, put that in its place, and discard of the other one. But the constant worship of stone continued.
Correct. So the Messenger of Allah said the gates of paradise are flung open on Monday and Thursday. Now we know. Now look, now we must understand that I'm not going to get into the whole detail, but Mondays is literally Moon Day. This is across multiple cultures. Arabia took it from the Greeks or the Romans or whatever, but Monday is the day of the moon. Okay. Monday is given such incredible importance in the heavens. It is only right that we as Muslims give it equal importance here on earth. We can fast on Mondays. It's sunnah. We can increase our prayers. Okay. We can plant a tree. Now that's actually fascinating. That's actually interesting. Why they talk about trees. So now I need to go and find this article. So give me 1 second. I actually forgot to bring this up.
Just want to comment, Josie Wales is saying, thank you so much, by the way, for being a mod and for being here, is saying, pointing out the obvious, using the Islamic scriptures, Lloyd has done incredible research using Islam's own manuscripts. Brilliant. So yeah, I completely agree. Thank you, Lloyd. And thank you for all your support and for your amazing mod work. Abdurrahman, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all enjoying this, by the way. I am mind blown today. I am not going to lie. Grey Jenny, yes, love the stone. Yeah, the stone has been given so much importance.
Okay, here we are. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just keeping an eye on the comments. Yeah.
Okay, no, thanks. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate it. So notice planting a tree. Remember in the original religion of Abraham, right? God says in the Bible to Abraham that you will not worship stone pillars or trees. We covered this a couple of episodes back. Now, for some reason, they talk about trees, how important it is to plant trees on a Monday. This is in Tirmidhi. So let's go here. The 11 virtues of Monday, the day of the moon that Muslims need to know. Okay, so let's have a look here. We will discuss the divine connections with the day of the moon, Monday, including momentous occasions in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, which took place on Mondays. Allah created trees on a Monday. Well, Abraham worshipped trees, which was pagan, right? And God said, stop doing that nonsense, right? Allah the Exalted created trees on Monday. Why is this the very first thing they mention?
Yeah, that's so strange. What?
Trees are mentioned 48 times in the Quran. trees. Like,
Weird.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe they want to talk about puppies. How often are puppies mentioned? Puppies are nice, right?
Yes.
Pillows are nice. Pillows are soft. Pillows are harmless. You know,
Yeah.
trees are the longest blood. The gates of paradise are flung open on a Monday. Okay, we must give Monday equal importance on earth because it's important. Muslims are forgiven on a Monday, on the day of the moon. Allah forgives every Muslim except two who have abandoned one another. Great. Reconcile your differences. Deeds are presented to Allah on Monday.
Oh, interesting.
The Prophet was born on a Monday.
Wow. Yes, I have
He
heard
raised the
that.
black stone to the Kaaba on a Monday.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, Muhammad received revelation on a
This is
Monday.
whack.
The
Oh,
day of the moon. The Quran
dang.
was revealed on a Monday.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the Miraj took place on a guess which
Stop
day.
it. Stop it.
Let's have a look. The
Oh
Prophet, his
gosh.
hijrah began on, I'm guessing here, I'm closing my eyes. I'm going to say
Go on,
Monday.
Lloyd. Have a wild guess. Yes.
Woo!
You got it.
Right? The
Oh,
Prophet arrived in Medina on a Monday. I was not expecting that. Oh
oh.
God, this. And Muhammad died on a Monday.
No, this is madness. Okay.
And
Monday,
yeah,
Monday, Monday.
there's more Monday connections, but that's enough for the moment. But isn't that fascinating? Monday is
That
the
it?
day when I was born and revelation was sent down to me, Sahih Muslim. Monday, the day of the
Wow.
moon. And
Yeah.
this is derived from the traditions that was in the other cultures around. Monday was the day of the moon. Yeah, Monday. That's we still
Yeah.
okay. I'm not going to go into this. I'm going to skip this. Muslims are encouraged to
Mm.
fast on Mondays. Muhammad fasted on Mondays. Okay. The black stone was placed in the Kaaba on a Monday. The Miraj was on Monday. Blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. And let's have a look. Al-Abyad, the Lord of Monday and the Lord of the Moon, a demon, a jinn. Murach al-Abyad, the jinn king of Monday and of the moon. The white king, Malik al-Abyad, is the Lord of Monday, the moon, Qamar, the white one, the father of the light. Remember we spoke of the white one? What does al-Maq mean? The white one, the bright white,
Yeah. The bright white
right?
light as well.
The
It
bright
came
white, the
down
name
to
of al-Maq, right? It's even, right?
yes.
It's reported from Atta that Ibn Abbas said a devil called al-Abyad came to the Prophet in the form of Gabriel, and cast these words, the satanic verses, upon Muhammad, and the Prophet recited them.
1 second there, Lloyd. I just need to stick with you here. Okay, I'm just reading the previous bullet. So Abu al-Nur or Mara, the White King, Malik al-Abyad, is the Lord of Monday. Reported from Atta. So is this a hadith, the last bullet itself? It is a hadith, right?
Apparently so.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. Devil called al-Abyad, meaning the white. In the form of Jibril, because Jibril, by the way, Gabriel can shapeshift.
The angel
And
gibberish.
yeah. And that's the reason for the satanic verses. The Jinn King
Yeah.
of Monday. So and that's oh my gosh, because this is just making me think of something where the Prophet, I don't know why I still call him that, Muhammad, that's indoctrination. Muhammad in the Hadith himself says that every single Muslim has a gareen or something, which is like their equivalent of a jinn, which is always around them, and it's like basically like the I guess the polar opposite of the goodness that's meant to be in you because of your iman and your faith to Allah. There is always this corresponding qareen, jinn. So it's also not surprising that there's a jinn king of Monday, and at some point they're trying to pass the blame on for this, the satanic verses, onto the jinn king of Monday, because otherwise Monday everything is good. It's the moon day, as you said, right? Everything good happens on that Monday.
Yeah. But the thing is, Al-Makkah was the bright white, the white king.
Yeah.
You know, it's just I don't know what to make of these connections, but there it is. Monday,
So
Monday, 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 Monday.
But that's so interesting also that you've brought that up, because again, not knowing any of this, I always thought that Friday was the most important day for Muslims, because it was just because of the prayer that you read, the different prayer as opposed to the rest of the week. And obviously all the Islamic countries, is like you lived in the Middle East as well, like Friday is given the most importance and you have to go read Jummah prayer. Whether or not you read any others, if you're a decent Muslim. So like you should be reading Jummah on a Friday. So this whole Monday connection and the implications of it is very, very new to me.
Yeah, I know. So Monday is the
Mind-boggling.
most important day in heaven, in paradise. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, look, I mean, guys, make of it what you will. With Monday, it just seems to, there's a lot of Mondays here. Let's look at Al-Makka in the Encyclopedia of Spirits, Lord of the Horned Goats, Lord of the Ibexes, also known as Il-Mukka, Il-Muk, Ilumku, Allah. Fascinating. I didn't write that. That's not Wikipedia.
Wow.
Origin, Sabaean, Yemeni. Okay, preeminent deity of South Arabian kingdom of Saba, now modern Yemen. Sabaeans called themselves Al-Makka's children. Inscriptions dating from the 7th century BC called the eighth one of the ancient world. So he did storms, rain, flooding. His planet was the moon. Okay, sacred animals:
Wow, look
bull,
at that.
goat, and
Ibex.
ibex.
Oh my God.
Usually interpreted as a sun over the crescent moon. Could also be a full moon within cattle horns.
What does that remind you of, Lloyd?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah.
remember, there was the king. Remember Qatar, the name Qatar. So remember, there was the king, the god Qatar Wahasis, who killed the god the god of the sea. Remember, the scholars, we don't know where the name Qatar comes from. It has something to do with the sea. Well, the god Qatar, Atar Wahasis, Qatar Wahasis,
Oh my.
killed
Okay.
the god with driver and expeller, right?
Yeah.
So you tell me. And
Wow.
Qatar is the name of another god, of an ancient god as well, pagan god. So I don't know. Look, I mean, I could be wrong here, but understand, it's just so. Arabian pagan stones, moon god
You're
culture.
just
So these
opening
are
up
very
cans of worms as you go, Lloyd. You're literally just like, well, what did that? Well, what do you make of that? Well, what do you make of that? And it's like damage on rabbit hole on rabbit hole. But anyway, we go.
so you got the South Arabian moon god, okay, and the sun goddess, and their sun the star god, who always ranked below the moon god. The best known and most widespread symbol of this religion of sky gods was the ancient Babylonian symbol of the sun disk in the crescent moon. In other words, a combination of the sky of the day and the sky at night, the entire circle of heaven. So here you go. There's the original. This is the Islamic symbol, right? And of course, here you get military expeditions led by the Prophet of the Al-Maghazi. This is in Da'if Bukhari. We used to worship stones, and when we found a better stone than the first one, we would throw the first one and take the new one.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Right. So now you've got, again, further confirmation. Moon gods, moon god, moon gods, moon god, moon gods. Let's look at the Kaaba. So we're winding down, so we'll probably finish next time, but I mean, this is like an exploration. So the Kaaba, pagan pillars, crescent moon. Here's the Kaaba. You've got the stars, the little lights of heaven. You've got the crescent moon, and you've got the dark of night, and you've got the Milky Way in the Shahada, right?
Yeah.
The three pillars inside of the Kaaba. There used to be 6 pillars, like the Sabaeans used to have in their temples. Now you've got the crescent moon, and you've got this, okay? So you've got the people around it, okay? So let's have a look, right? So now, of course, you've got the 3 pillars, just like Al-Makka, the bull, had 3 pillars, right, on his head, right? Then, of course, you've got the people moving around the Kaaba, just like the stars move around Sirius.
Yeah. Precisely.
Counterclockwise.
Mimicking that.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, you have now, here you've got the moon. This is Sirius, and here's your sun. They've actually, look at the Kaaba, they've actually got a sun disk around.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually do have a sun disk. And then, of course, the people, the children of Allah, right? The children of Al-Makka go counterclockwise. Remember, the stars are the children. They have souls. They're the offspring of the sun and the moon.
Yes,
and the Kaaba,
you're right. With souls, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and so understand the parallels here, the pagan parallels to this.
Also, right? Just by that logic of like the Kaaba being the house of God on earth, and Sirius being above it, and like this is perfect mimicry when you do Hajj or when you do Umrah and you're circumambulating the Kaaba. This is perfect mimicry of if you were to worship Sirius, the way you would as a human being mimic like almost like the cosmological movements.
Yes,
and of it on earth. This is the closest thing you could do to mimic the awe of what you believe in above, like as above so below kind of concept, as a human. Yeah.
Correct. Fully agreed. So Okay, so so again, in the Sharia, there are lines of the traveler, link in the description, page 325 in your PDF. When even with the rain spout, when you get to the rain spout, okay, called the spout of mercy, Mizab al-Rahma, at the top of the Kaaba, one says, Allah, shade me in your shade on a day when there's no shade but yours. Give me to drink from the cup of your Prophet Muhammad, after which I will never thirst. Which is stolen from the Bible, like the cup of, this is like it's very much stolen from the New Testament. But give me to drink from the cup of your Prophet Muhammad, after which, so if you drink from his cup, you will never thirst. That's a very Christian concept. And for some reason, this idea was lifted and just used. I just thought it was very interesting. And of course, we've seen
they
this.
plagiarized quite a lot, Lloyd, from
Yeah, I
the
guess
Christian.
which tells me Mo could do a little bit of reading,
Yeah, he most definitely could.
And I've mentioned before the life of Muhammad the Prophet. See my Google Drive archive for the source text. Okay, this is the life of Muhammad the Prophet from Sayyid. We've mentioned this. Any idol near which the Prophet went and towards which he pointed his cane, saying, "Right has come and falsehood has vanished. Verily, falsehood is destined to vanish." Quran 1781. That idol fell headlong on the ground without anyone touching it. So Mo was doing Harry Potter. So
he summoned the right thing and did the perfect incantation, because he was well versed in this magic and sorcery that they're embellished in, right? So he doesn't even need to make contact with an idol at this point, Lloyd.
When you read the Sirah, he's like Jesus plus.
He's like
super miracle.
Wingardium Leviosaing it up.
Yeah.
Harry Potter style.
He's notice now. Okay, so the Kaaba. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of winding down. I don't think we'll finish today, but we're nearly done. So the Kaaba is a cubical structure at the center of the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. The Baqarah verses, the cow verses. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is. I always, even as a Muslim, I was like, there's a whole chapter called the cow. Like,
why the cow? Well, remember the cow was the animal of the moon god.
Exactly. But again, Lloyd, only now because I've been privy to this information. Otherwise, I was like, oh, there's a chapter called the bees, the ant. It's all fine. It's just how God speaks.
Yeah. So the Baqarah verse established the Kaaba as the direction towards which Muslims address their 5 daily prayers, right? And they circle the Kaaba 7 times, okay, during which they kiss and touch the black stone, Al-Hajar al-Aswad, okay? So notice it predates Islam. The Kaaba predates Islam and is claimed to have been first built by Abraham, although they'll also say Adam built it. Though there are no archaeological findings to support this argument. It was rebuilt several times by tribes ruling Mecca who used it to house sacred objects, including the black stone. During the lifetime of Muhammad, the Quraysh tribe rebuilt the Kaaba with alternating courses of stone and wood. The reference will come later. I'll show you the original document. The inner space was divided into 2 rooms, one of which housed the black stone. The interior walls were decorated with paintings of Abraham, Mary, Jesus, angels, prophets, and trees. And the exterior was covered with a cloth from Yemen.
Look at that. What do you know?
Really, really odd. But they had, so according to Islamic sources, there were paintings of Abraham, Mary, Jesus, angels, and why trees?
Yeah, true. I was just thinking, that, because I was like, wait, did Lloyd forget about all of that? The trees reference, what was that all about? But here, okay, you are.
And this alternating courses of stone and wood, we'll see later on once we get to another document from another scholarly document that I've got. But alternating, so the Ethiopians built their churches with alternating layers of stone and wood.
Okay,
churches, Ethiopian churches were built that way.
Right. Also, just want to point out, yes, Osmos, thank you. Of course, I have kissed it. It's not something I can take back, but I truly wish I hadn't, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah. So then, okay, the stone built by Abraham, the black stone. Okay, I'll skip all that nonsense. So notice we've mentioned before, right? So blah, blah, blah. The Bakum was probably Ethiopian. So now you've got more Ethiopian connections. So as we wind down, I'll kind of lean more towards Ethiopia again. So there's an Ethiopian tradition that an architect from Ethiopia went to assist in building the Kaaba, right? And this guy was Christian, apparently, right? And they put in 6 columns in 2 rows. In each row, with 3 columns from the blah, blah, blah. So now you've got this whole thing, okay? And the Prophet Ibrahim Khalil ar-Rahman with divining arrows and a picture of Mary and his mother, of Isa bin Maryam and his mother, Jesus and Mary. So they had angels, trees, and pictures of blah, blah, blah. Again, this is from various scholarly view on this, okay? But notice these are from Islamic scholars.
Yeah.
Okay? So they had pictures. Now, what are pictures of Jesus and Mary doing in the Kaaba? An inscription on one of the 6 monolithic pillars mentions Al-Makkah of Baran, right? So
What?
this is from the pillars of a Yemeni temple, but I think it's a Yemeni temple. But they had Al-Makkah of Baran. Okay, the Baran temple shows 2 ibexes, an Assyrian-styled tree of life between 2 winged bulls. So you've got these ibexes, and the bulls are moon god symbols. And Al-Makkah was, so you've got these, and notice now the 7 hands. Okay, so what happens is some of the drawings in these temples in Yemen, they have severed hands.
Mm.
And the severed hands reminds one of the punishment set forth in the Quran. And the Quran says to cut off the fingertips and heads, and also hands as hudad
Bloody
punishments.
hell. Yes, it does. It does, exactly. Oh
So
my,
again, it's another idea that comes from the past, from the Yemenis.
wow. Yeah.
Historian Al-Azraqi said that the angels circumambulated in heaven around the celestial Kaaba, and the Kaaba on earth was similar to the one in heaven. Tabari related that Muhammad connected the worship of Allah and the movement of the stars.
Wow. Tabari goes as far as to make a claim like that.
Yeah.
That's huge, Lloyd. That is huge.
Yeah,
That's
the
like
5 stars, the
celestial
visible
worship.
planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, rise and run like the sun and the moon, and they race together. The other stars are suspended from heaven as lamps are from mosques, and circulate together. See, the stars in heaven like lamps in mosques. They circulate together with heaven praising and sanctifying Allah with prayer. Their circulation today is what you see, and that is their prayer. And that's circumambulating the Kaaba.
Oh my
A
word.
little weird. Tabari said this.
Yes. Wow,
That's
Dabri is really shining a light for us by actually like saying that like, do you know what I mean? Like no holding back.
that is
Muhammad
cosmological.
yes, Muhammad actually felt that celestial connection there.
Yeah, we'll continue with that. Yeah, so these
Okay.
statues, we'll see more of that. These statues of Mary and Jesus remain in the Kaaba from the time of Mo until the Kaaba was destroyed by fire in 683, and it contained 6 pillars, just like the pillars of the Yemenis, right? I'm going to skip this one. I'm not going to get into this. This is,
Sure.
but this is to do with Lucifer, Hillel, Arabian moon god, Lucifer. So basically, the whole idea of Hillel, the crescent moon, Hillel,
Mhm.
the crescent, it's also the name of Lucifer, basically. But I'm going to skip that.
Bloody
That's not
hell.
important.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just going to open. I'm starting to get really warm here. So, okay, now.
Sure.
Now
We've
notice
only got
megaliths.
like a couple of minutes left as well. So wherever you
Yeah,
feel
I'll
like you
finish.
want
I'll
to
just
wind
finish
up.
this short section. Yeah. So
Sure.
notice in this document, this is a document called. It's in a book called The Sciences, which obviously my critics are going to say it's from Wikipedia, right? So this is called The Sciences. This is an article. In its origins, it now appears the Kaaba might even have had features in common with the Great Stone Circle on Salisbury Plain. Okay.
Oh,
What do we?
Okay.
So
People were talking
let's
about
have.
the Stonehenge earlier in the chat. This is going to be insanely fascinating for my audience, I
So
think.
let's have a look at the Great Stone Circle on Salisbury Plain. You guys
Yes.
this might look familiar to you guys. You may have seen this before. Okay, some has things in common with these megaliths. Well, let's have a look. So there was a proliferation of gods that were worshipped, some of them tribal, and associated with sacred stones and trees.
There we are. Okay. Sacred stones,
Others
first of all, already that link we've established. I'm excited for the
right.
trees.
And the trees, and they were astral as well, astral gods linked with the sun, the moon, Venus, or such prominent stars as Canopus, the second brightest star in the sky.
Which you said the Kaaba is also aligned to.
It's aligned to Canopus.
Yeah.
In the early part of the 7th century, the walls were built up probably in alternate layers of stone and wood, like the churches of Ethiopia.
Interesting.
Seems it was a church
yes.
prior. And it came to be called the Kaaba, the cubic building on a rock, blah, blah, blah. The major axis of the Kaaba is aligned to the rising of Canopus at about the 1st century AD. Okay? It is precisely aligned towards the southernmost setting position of the moon at the winter solstice.
Okay.
So the Kaaba is aligned to, it is Sirius, it represents Sirius. It is aligned to the rising of Canopus and the setting of the moon at the winter solstice.
Well, are we going to form that link? Yeah, sorry, no, I'm just so excited for the,
go on,
link
please
that's
go
about
on.
to come. No, it's just because again, the stones, the worship, the solstices, and why they're important. And it's whether you're trying to line up with the sun or the moon. And here, Islam is adamant to line up with the moon on the winter solstice.
Solstice.
Exactly. That's just
And
very
this
interesting.
discovery was made by Gerald Hawkins, known for his work on the alignments of Stonehenge. Roughly every 19 years, the crescent moon sets at the spot in the horizon visible along the southeast side of the Kaaba. This lunar alignment is also found in many megalithic sites in Europe. Although there's no mention, of course, in the Islamic medieval texts of folk astronomy, it seems to all have disappeared. They kind of forgot to put that in there.
Yeah,
All
precisely,
things
which is
considered. Go.
yeah,
Sorry?
no, go ahead. No, that's the thing. It just seems to be I know you obviously talk about this that whole realm where a normal kind of Muslim can't access, but it does seem to have. That's why I said earlier, either been masqueraded or been like the omissions are so great that one could never come to these conclusions unless they have deep dived and understand and have a fundamental understanding on how these gods could like transpose themselves into different cultures almost, but still be referring
Yeah.
to the same thing. I If you told me this as a Muslim, I would be like, you're crazy. But to have the information here and it's just being like, you know what I mean? Like when you unpack a cute, well, let's
Yeah.
take the Kaaba, you unpack it and you're like, oh my gosh, all of this is embedded within it. But to the point now where we're saying the Kaaba has similar elements to like the Stonehenge at Salisbury. This is wild
Yeah.
stuff, Lloyd.
So it seems that likely
Crazy.
that the Kaaba was a kind of microcosm of the celestial and terrestrial universe of the pagan Arabs. The elements of the physical world is represented. Of the celestial, you have the sun, the moon, and Canopus, the brightest star in the southern sky. Of the terrestrial, you've got the winds, because the four corners of the Kaaba are named after the four winds. And the winds, when they blow, actually blow into the corners of the Kaaba. So the Kaaba points in the direction of the four winds, right?
Wow,
Unifying the
okay.
cosmos of celestial bodies, winds, rains, and the directions in this way would not have been strange to the pre-Islamic Arabs. Astronomical and meteorological phenomena were intimately connected in Islamic pagan folklore.
Yeah,
So,
that
so
is
for instance, yeah. So what you have is the winds. If you look at the names of the four sides, they're named after the four winds because they point to the four winds. When the wind blows, the winds blow into the corners of the Kaaba or the sides of the Kaaba.
yeah. Wow, I did not know that at all.
Yeah. So let me see where we are
That
here.
is
So
very new information. But yeah, if you want to wrap it up here, we most definitely can do.
yes, so I'm nearly done. So we've got about 20 slides at most to do, but yeah, I can finish that next time and we can talk about various things and take questions and talk about the
Okay.
Sharia or something, whatever comes up. But yes, so hopefully that gives you guys something interesting to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Lloyd. I think out of all the parts we've done so far, I've been mind boggled in all of them, but it's safe to say that this one has really you've just like ramped it up in this one for sure. And I'm I'm just a bit shook by everything that I've come to terms with in this, and especially like just these extra links that you've made today about the Monday thing. I had no idea. And again, like I would hear about, oh, okay, the prophet was born on a Monday, but I wouldn't make anything of it. But when you actually look into it and you deep dive, you're like, wow, there is so much beneath the surface that it's crazy. And I just want to thank you so much for kind of shedding light on this and bringing it to the surface, because had you not done this and have you not compiled all this research, there is no way. I mean, even the individual scholars, as Derek was asking us earlier, could have come to this realization. Obviously, like you know how they say we stand on the shoulder of giants, people who have already done work into various aspects. The fact that you can build on it and kind of make links and connect dots where they can be very plausibly connected. You're giving insights in a way that I've never looked at Islam before. So this is an absolute pleasure for me to sit here for 2 hours and learn from you. So hats off. I really appreciate what you're doing. And again, your time and your commitment to come on this channel and share your information with everybody and all these viewers. So I really, really do appreciate it. But yeah, if you want to say anything, there was a couple of questions, but I feel like I'm not sure if you want to address them now because we are over
Well,
time.
throw them out. If we don't do it today, at least I can think about it, research them, and try and come back with some good answers next time.
Okay. There's one that I wanted to just flag for you. It's quite a bit up. Let me just get it. I don't know what this is. This was not the one I wanted, but oh, this is the one. I think I just wanted to clarify for Abdurrahman. Al-Makkah was a deity of South Arabia. Sorry, it seems from there the name Mecca came. That's the question? So very interesting.
Yeah,
As we kind of
that is
discussed
kind of
this.
what I've been implying or what I've been saying. Makkah, because it's just so common. And Makkah, remember, it's not just the name of a deity, it's the name of a place. Makkah, right? And
Exactly.
Muhammad went to great lengths to wipe out the original temple of Makkah, right? And then he set up a new one called Makkah, you know? And he tried to, okay, Muhammad did try to appeal to everybody. Remember, he tried to appeal to the Jews. There's a little bit of Jewish stuff in Islam. There's a little bit of Christian stuff in Islam. There's a little bit of pagan stuff. It appeals to everybody. Why wouldn't he use words and names that are familiar?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. The other question I'm trying to find, Lloyd, I can't, but somebody was essentially asking what your personal opinion was on
Did
whether
Muhammad
this
exist?
Hijazi Muhammad exists. Exactly.
Look, it's hard to tell. I mean,
Hmm.
I kind of look. We don't know for a fact. It's hard for me to say definitively. I can, but I can make a definitive statement. But can I prove it? It's really tough. Now we can lead to it. We can come to a conclusion based on research. Now, for instance, I know, for instance, that Jay Smith has a particular opinion based on his research, right? However, understand that the work they've done is based purely on this northern thesis. Most scholars have totally ignored what's happening in the south. Right. You're very welcome, John. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
John.
they've ignored what's in the South. So I think that if they add that knowledge of what happened in the South, they will possibly revise their views because they've got an incomplete picture. And if you have an incomplete picture, you're going to have an incomplete conclusion, right? Or potentially erroneous. So I think there must have been someone that they based this mythology off of, right? There probably was someone, but I kind of think there were some ones. I think it's
Right.
a composite man. There must have been an original character that they could use as a template, and then they mythologized it and they added other characters attributes on top of that. So it seems to be a composite. That's my view. It seems to be a composite, right? I think there was a historical figure, but obviously it's not the Muhammad we know and love, right?
The one that the police be upon.
Police be upon him. Yes, police be upon him.
I love
But
that, Lloyd. Two things I will never forget that you've brought to this is Dave Bukhari and police be upon him.
yeah,
Brilliant.
police be upon him indeed. So yeah, I think there was I think there may well have been a real historical figure that they've built this narrative off of, but they've added some legendary accretions on top. And I think they've taken like this figure and added, so there's like 2 or 3 or 4 figures that I think it's the composite of. And also Islam extends over centuries. If you look at it, it goes from 800 BC more or less that I've been working from. So you've got total paganism, then you've got this pseudo-biblical Gnosticism, right? Then when they get to Haran, they add Hermeticism, right? And then so you've got and then also you had the Sabaeanism, right? So it was my question, Trevor Griffiths. Well, my question, I agree. Thank you, Trevor. So you've got paganism from the Sabaean Abrahamic paganism, right? Then you've got this Gnosticism ish stuff, this Rahmanan, this Hanafi religion, this
Basmallah.
pseudo biblical thing. Then you seem to have this Hermeticism that gets added when they conquer Haran, and there's this magic temple in Haran, this temple of magic, this university of magic and occultism. They absorb that in. So now you've got the Semitic, but that became part of the Sufi legacy. So the higher scholars they took this in. So you've got paganism, then you've got this pseudo Gnosticism, and then you've got this pseudo Jewish Christianism. I don't know. It's kind of like but underneath it's all pagan by the look of it. Hopefully that's a good answer.
No, that was a beautiful answer, Lloyd. I couldn't have put it better myself. And I know I was interested in your personal opinion as well. So thank you, Trevor, for asking that question. Shaquille saying, I like raised passion. And also just wanted to give a shout out to Ray, the producer, who is in the house. Hello, welcome. You're a bit late. You missed the whole thing, mate, but you can rewatch it. But thank you so much for being here and for your support as always. And guys, please go check out Ray, the producer's channel and his recent music more than anything, the ex-Muslim rap. If you speak Urdu, he's done one in Urdu as well, which is a complete
That's
banger.
brilliant. Even I don't speak Urdu, but man, it's good. It's really excellent. So Ray, talent, man, serious talent, respect. I mean, really good work.
Oh, thanks, Lloyd. I didn't even know you had the Urdu one. That's amazing.
I watched it. It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. It's really good.
It's such quality stuff. And again, like we can have conversations like this, but somebody at least who's pushing the boundaries in the artistic sense as well. Hats off to you, Ray, massively. Josie Wales is saying, brilliant again. The time and effort that you've spent researching and putting together these lectures is very much appreciated. You're a star, non-Islamic star. I love that.
Awesome,
I absolutely love that. Yes, and and we did this purposely not on a Monday.
yeah. Think of why would they want to connect all of these events in Muhammad's life to a Monday?
I know, that's uncanny to me now. As I said, I was so in the dark and I thought Friday was our day, it was the day for Muslims. But this whole Monday thing, there's definitely something to it. You're very right there. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Shah Peas is saying, I hope the researcher, i.e. Lloyd, I think is referring to you, will buy a bulletproof vest because of the damage you are doing to Islam, Lloyd. Like, you need to watch your back, be careful. You are splitting holes in the narratives. You're causing the foundation to crumble. You are causing people to doubt and consider whenever they pray to Allah, is this now Baal? Is this the moon god? What is with all this symbolism? What are we doing? All these pagan rituals. So, yeah.
Oh, you just mentioned something earlier about like the confusion between all these titles. Like, don't forget, take Baal.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a Baal, who is a god, and you can have Baal, the god. It can be a name, a pronoun, but it can also be a description.
Oh,
a
yeah.
Baal. So Hubal can be a Baal, but Hubal can also be called Baal. Allah could be a Baal because he's a god, a Baal. So there's the context in which you're using it. So yeah, there is room for confusion. There's some room for confusion. Yeah.
Even you could do that with the word Allah itself, right? Like Allah, because it's like the law that was God or whatever. Either one of those. But yeah, you could split it that way. So yeah.
And the Christians use it as the God Yahweh, because right, or the God Rahman, different context. Whereas in Islam, it's the name.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, sorry, Ray saying I will watch this whole thing back. Sorry, yeah, I hope you enjoy it, Ray. Trevor saying, well, this has been brilliant, Nuria and Lloyd. Thanks so much. So yeah, Dee, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much for being a mod. The Urdu language contains a lot of English words. Yes, John Stopman. In fact, it's getting more and more anglicized with every year that passes. It's getting easier for me to get like attuned to it because they just throw in so much English now. Born on a Monday, christened on a Tuesday. Anyway, yes. Okay, we're getting into a whole nother can of worms here. But guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. Lloyd Shaw has big balls.
Okay, man, you just won the internet there.
Yes, Ray, I love it. You come and you leave like a gem like that. I absolutely love it. Yeah. No, you have been on fire with your jokes today, even on Twitter, Ray. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Lloyd definitely has big balls. Lloyd, take care of yourself. Watch your back, please. But keep doing what you're doing because this is beyond anything, besides the fact that it's fascinating, it is insanely damaging. And I truly tip my hat off to you for that. This is uncharted territory. You're willing to explore. You're willing to, hold your hands up and say, I'm open to any other ideas, but you're following wherever the trail leads you. And I'm so happy that, I've been able to share this platform with you as and when you do it. And I hope you all enjoy listening to us. But I just want to say thank you to Lloyd and a good night from me. And thank you to everybody who showed up and engaged and kept it real in the chat and kept it sweet. because that's what this is about, just exploring ideas. No hate, no ad hominems, no judgment. Let's just all learn and grow and have discussions where we can learn from each other. So before I let Lloyd go, any last words, Lloyd, before we wrap this up?
No, thanks. Look, thank you to the audience for the questions, the comments. It always keeps me sharp, yeah, I lived 11 years in the
That's
Middle
very
East.
true. I'm not worried about him. He's got it.
Yeah, no, thank you. So yeah, look, as I said, I'm trying to extrapolate based on evidence, and all the links to all the documents I'm using are in the description. Maybe when I wrap up next time, I can go through some of within the slides. I can show you some of the links and so on, so you can just view them in the. But yeah, everything that I have, I literally share all my resources, for everyone to look at. And you can see I'm copying, pasting the text themselves, right? So you can see I'm taking it off multiple different academic documents. It's not just Wikipedia copy paste. So
Exactly.
thank you guys, and I appreciate it. So yeah, so the evidence, I hope that I mean, historically, archaeologically, from the words to the word meanings to the to the Islamic scriptures, they all seem to just link and overlap. It just seems to make sense to me.
Precisely. And again, me too, and a lot of the things Lloyd is saying. But again, as last time, we did ask for, please tell us your feedback and what you're making of this series, and how plausible you think this kind of information is from this angle, the Southern Arabian impact. And everything that Lloyd has presented. But do let us know, because it helps us gauge as well, like especially when Lloyd does further research after this and goes on to other channels and teams up with these really influential scholars. I'm sure any feedback is like going to help, whether it's like, yes, I completely get what you're saying, or like these bits need looking into. Either way, like, do let us know. But thank you guys all for the appreciation. And yes, power be on you, Lloyd, and police be upon Muhammad. But yeah, no, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Was there one thing I wanted to flag before? No. Oh yes, Lloyd, this is the last thing I want to show you is you have one JoJo freelancer around once again.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, would you like to say anything about that?
Yeah, look, I
Otherwise,
know a lot of what I'm saying may be controversial. I know there are people that disagree, but they don't do exactly what I'm doing. They might have delved at a more surface level onto some of these issues. But I think we can, given the evidence, say with fair degree of confidence, Allah is derived. I'm not saying Allah is a moon god today, but Allah is certainly derived originally in its pagan form from a moon god it's a soup. I think we've decided previously it's a soup. But I think you also saw there's this layer of paganism covered with a veneer, a facade of non-paganism, but at the bottom layer, it's still pagan in many ways.
that's very much the conclusion that I'm coming to, and that I had like slight alarm bells go off when I was reading the Hadith and looking into the practices of Hajj and things like that. But having spoken to you and listened to everything that you're presenting, I am very much getting like more and more kind of like set in my conviction that that is the case. So just personally from me, I want to say thank you so much for opening my eyes to so much. And I look forward to part 6 and then whatever happens from there, and however we choose to collaborate going forward. But yeah, until next time, everybody, thank you so much. We've gone over 2 hours now. I would normally only take 2 hours of Lloyd's time, so I'm going to let him go. But yeah, thank you, and see you all on Sunday for Sunday Scoop. Till then, take care. Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very
Lloyd.
much.
Thank you.